2022. I couldn't be more fired up and I couldn't be more grateful. I'm grateful for the community that we serve and all the participation that we get from all the different loan officers around America that tune into this Mortgage Coach Win by Noon SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA event. Couldn't be more grateful for the speakers who have prepared to jump on stage. Some of them are going to come on right before it's their turn to speak, and some of them are going to be here the whole time. So we'll bring them in and out of the conversation. So Todd Bookspan, how fired up are you, brother?
You know, I am so excited to be here. I cannot believe that this is year number 5 of SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, and I am grateful, just as you are, for not just our community, but for you and really the fact that we've gotten to deliver some great value over the last 5 years together.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we want to make sure you guys are getting value beyond just this event. So there's a few things that we want to make sure you guys do from a housekeeping perspective. I don't know if you can see the phone numbers. Todd, can you see those yet?
I cannot see those yet.
All right. Well, hopefully you can see them now.
Now we see them.
All right. So tell everybody how they can get the taking action notes. We're going to transcribe this entire event, and we want you guys to get taking action notes. So let's give them the phone numbers, Todd.
Yeah, awesome. So just text both Dave and I, 949-799-0837 and 602-737-3848. And yeah, just like we've done for the Modern Mortgage and Real Estate Summits in the past, we've got a learning expert who's actually going to be taking notes, and we'll make those taking action notes available to you all who text in after the event.
And we're also going to, not only will we take the transcript and try to turn those into actionable notes for you, we're going to be taking your favorite quotes in comments. So ask us questions, give us your biggest takeaway in the actual Zoom environment. We also want to make sure you guys keep getting value post this event. So Todd, what's the best way for them to follow you and get information on Win by Noon?
You know, we're just cranking up our YouTube channel, so we'd love some more subscribers there. But if you just, you can plug in, we've got amazing social media thanks to Plug and Play SM. So if you just follow us at Win by Noon on Facebook and also on Instagram. And then we've also got a Win by Noon mastermind group, similar to the Mortgage Coach, where we're really going to focus on productivity. And the cool thing about that group is it's not just loan officers. We've got lots of real estate agents in there as well. So it's just a great opportunity for you to learn and connect with that community as well.
Right on, everybody. And we want to help you. I call this Mortgage Coach in the real world, where on YouTube, we want to replace some of your Netflix time with videos that will make you more successful as a loan officer. If you're a new loan officer, we've got a new loan officer playlist, but we want to make sure that 24/7, you've got a YouTube channel, you've got our Facebook Mortgage Coach Productivity channel. I am active daily, at least weekdays, on LinkedIn. I'm putting a post and every once in a while an article, so check that out, follow us, and we're here to give value 24/7 through social media for good. So a couple things that we want to frame before we bring on loan officers, and we share scripts and we share sales strategies. I want everyone to think about the profession you're in. Most of you are local, referral-based mortgage professionals, and we're in with this era, what we call the digital age shift. It started in 2007 when Steve Jobs lifted up that iPhone and introduced the concept of a smartphone. But this is where we're at right now. 2020, we are in this place where consumers have lots of logins, lots of platforms, and loan officers, you have lots of logins and lots of platforms. But there will be a time, and I believe it's going to be around 2027, where you're going to have a lot less logins, a lot more unified experiences. Some of that will be integrations, where different platforms have an integration, like Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang, and to make it easier. But the world is changing. So let's talk about what that change looks like. If you're a real estate agent, and just about everybody on this call, this is your alpha referral partner, real estate agents, and we're going to have scripts on how to win with borrowers and how to recruit and win with realtors. But this is what it looks like. This is what the battlefield for real estate agents looked like a few years ago. And guys, this is what the battlefield for real estate agents looks like today. There's a lot more categories of competitors, and everybody is in the real estate game. From a mortgage perspective, if you're a referral-based local loan officer and you're watching this, this is what it looked like a few years ago, your battlefield every time you were trying to win a loan. And guys, this is what the battlefield looks like now. There's more competitors. So what does this mean? This means your words matter more, the value you bring at the point of sale matters more than ever. Todd, anything you want to add to this before we share a few more concepts before we bring on our guest today?
Well, I think you just nailed it, right? Our alpha referral source as loan officers is the real estate community. If we're not paying attention, not just to what's disrupting our world as loan officers, but what's disrupting theirs, then we're missing out on a big opportunity to add value.
Absolutely. And so guys, here's our goal, Todd and I's goal, and the mortgage coach goal, the win by known goal, the sales boomerang mission is to make loan officers the single most valuable advisor to a family. More valuable than a CPA, more valuable than a financial planner, even more valuable than a realtor. We can be the captain of the wealth team. We can be the most valuable advisor, but there are words, there are scripts, there are sales strategies that you need to adopt. And we're going to bring on stage mortgage professionals that believe what we believe. They believe that, and they're executing that. They get the fact that every consumer has a goal, and it's not to get the lowest rate, it's to become debt-free or to become financially free. That's the goal. It's not about rates and fees, it's about financial freedom. Todd, anything you want to share on this one, this little stat?
Well, I mean, when we talk about being captain of the wealth team, I think most people think about the financial advisors that are out there. And I think this is a pretty staggering number, right? 20 million millionaires, then there's $95 trillion in assets. And when you look at it, there's 311,000 financial advisors in there, but there's other people who are impacting them as well, right? The CPAs, right, over 650,000, and then some version of life insurance agents over 1.2 million. And that is all opportunity for you as a loan officer to connect. But in the end, you want to be that captain of the wealth team. You don't want them to look at those other resources as the go-to. You want to be the go-to for them to help them figure out how to build wealth through home ownership.
And we all know that there's over 1 million real estate agents, but we also all know that only a portion of those real estate agents are really the agents you want to be working with. So I want you to package all of that in one place. One thing we know for sure is that how America manages assets, it's well-resourced. There's lots of advisors. But how America helps people manage their liabilities, mortgage being the biggest strategic financial planning decision they make, it's under-resourced. There's only 150,000 loan officers, active loan officers, helping families. And what we're going to share today, we're going to bring on stage, and we're going to bring on loan officers where, one, they all do over 100 million in production, so they're super successful. Many of them close over $200 million a year production. Many of them manage regions and help other loan officers, billions of dollars in production. And we're going to talk about how to achieve the real American dream. So the clear takeaway is, us as a mortgage industry, let's change the narrative. We're not just loan officers. We want you guys to be mortgage coaches. We want you to be mortgage advisors. Our dream for you as we go through these scripts is that you become the most valuable advisor in the local community that you serve. Todd, anything else before we bring on our first guest today?
Well, I just know for the bottom of our hearts, right? This is what it's all about, right? We are doing this to help you all be more valuable to your relationships, to your clients, to your partners. And ultimately, in the end, we know it. You're all here because we know words matter. And so the whole goal today is to engage and embrace these scripts, right? My philosophy when it comes to a script is always you're going to memorize it, and then you're going to customize it, and then you're going to internalize it for you. So you're just going to learn what Wally says, what Deborah says, what Dan says. All these people, what they bring on are great scripts, but they're not you. So you're going to memorize it, then you're going to actually customize it as you use it with their clients, and then you're going to internalize it. So going forward, it's just going to be one of the building blocks of your many scripts that you'll have so that you can serve your clients and realtor partners with the best that you can give them.
And the only thing I'd add to that is you also want to tailor it. Even when you've internalized it, every family is different. They have different hopes, they have different dreams. So while words matter and your scripts matter, connecting with that family in a personal, localized way matters most. So we're going to bring on Deborah Byrd. She is not an active loan officer, but she runs the top media agency in the mortgage coach community. And she's going to share some takeaways from some great scripts. Todd, why don't you introduce Deborah, and then let's get this show going.
I can't say enough great things about Deborah. You all know that Dave and I, for over 5 years, have had weekly masterminds that we've done, and we've been really had the gift of having Deborah come on and be co-host alongside of us this year, just to really add a ton of value. And I've already mentioned it. For Win by Noon, I use Deborah for all of our social media. And then we also use her for the Modern Mortgage and Modern Real Estate Summits, which if you're not following those all on Instagram, that's just great content that you can use to repurpose out there to share with your clients and your real estate agents. So without further ado, from Plug and Play SM, here's Deborah Byrd.
Good morning. And, thank you, Todd and Dave. I can't believe this is the 5th year that you have put this on, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. I remember watching these and thinking maybe one day I could be on that same, platform and same stage as these goats that you guys have on. So thank you very much for what you're doing for the industry, being committed to having us on and sharing our scripts. I couldn't thank you more. So thank you.
It's totally our pleasure. It's totally our pleasure. So let's kind of jump in. Where did you want to start today?
So I've already taken a page of notes of what you shared. And, the things that resonated with me that you guys have already stated is being the captain of the wealth team. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're great.
Okay. To be the captain of the wealth team and how words matter. And when I was preparing for this, I heard a podcast. I'm actually in Utah with Ben Lemon's team. I just did a big presentation for his agent team. So I'm not in my normal location, but we listened to a Jim Rohn podcast on the way here. And he shared, for all that I am, the less I have to say. And I want to combine that with my script in my segment today about database leadership. I think we need leadership in our lives and in our business, but more importantly, if we're going to be the captain of the wealth team, then our database and our clients need our leadership more than ever right now. I think with inflation and with just the average cost of gas prices, groceries, we have families in our database that need our help and need our leadership more than ever. And so I listened to Ryan Grant's call that you guys recently had, and I loved when he said, stay focused on the activity and not the results. And so I thought, okay, here we have Win by Noon and Mortgage Coach putting this on for us. How are we staying focused in a time when it may feel like the results aren't coming because maybe you're doing a lot of pre-approvals and you don't have the results that prove all the work that you're doing? Use your Win by Noon planner and focus on quality conversations. The one who has the most quality conversations, and you have it in your planner and you have that commitment, will win when consistently done over time. So what does that mean? Quality conversations starts with data. Okay, so if you have sales boomerang and you have artificial intelligence or data that's helping you identify where are the opportunities in your current database, not just for, maybe it's a debt consolidation refinance, but it's also, maybe you're asking them, how has life changed? How's the evolution of just when we initially set this loan up for you, and with the cost of living increasing, a lot of families, they're on fixed incomes. So what does that mean? That could mean that they are going to end up putting more debt on credit card, which is a higher interest loan. And so what can we do to be proactive and to really show the client leadership and that captain of the wealth team? How do we prove that and not just say it and make a commitment where I already know in my planner, who am I going to call and how am I going to show up? And maybe that's starting with an equity assessment. We're talking about their current debts, credit, printing off their bank statements, showing them how to highlight, like, where is your money coming and going right now? Which is a great opportunity to then have a one-to-many strategy with your real estate partners and tell them that they could do the same thing. Because like Brian Grant said, there's 3 things that are going to come from this. Either a current transaction of a refinance, which could be a cash out refinance or rate term. It's going to be stacking your pipeline by having a conversation with the client, and maybe you knew that they were a first-time home buyer. So you're just revisiting, okay, I know when we initially made this strategy for you, you thought you would be in the home for 3 to 5 years. Has that changed? And you're making a note in your database so that you know when to follow back up. So again, you're stacking your pipeline by leveraging your current database and truly being the captain of the wealth team and showing that leadership. And then the last thing is, Mr. Smith, do you know anyone else who could find value in this conversation that we had today? that you could introduce me to that could also need a review of their current mortgage strategy or how to leverage their largest debt and turn that debt into wealth by leveraging real estate? Did someone say something? Sorry.
Sorry, I said, could you unmute me? I'm still figuring out how to work out of this fancy studio that I have for the first time. But you've said so many great things: leadership, database, and those are things that everybody, we've all heard it before, but I would just ask you guys, are you doing it? You know, and I know that the loan officers on this stage, we're going to bring up Brian next. You know, he's did over 450 families last year. There is no doubt he is bringing leadership to his team. He is bringing leadership to the families that he serves. But guys, there are a lot of loan officers that aren't bringing enough leadership, or they're bringing leadership around the transaction, rates, payments. I can close loans on time. I'll call it transactional leadership. Guys, that's worked for the past decade. Transactional leadership it's a standard. There are tens of thousands, probably over 100,000 loan officers that can bring great transactional leadership. If you want to kill it in this new digital shift era, you need to bring client for life leadership, you know? So I love all of that. I see that we've got Shayla Gifford, even though she's not next. We've got Shayla. What's up, Shayla?
What's up, Dave? Good to be here.
Good. Looking forward to having you on stage in a few minutes. So Todd, anything you want to ask Deborah before we bring on the next guest? And then Deborah, we're going to make sure you get to share anything and everything you want to share.
Well, you know, I just got a text from Tammy. She wants to know where she can get a cool sweatshirt like that, Deborah.
Go to the Win by Noon store. It's a great lightweight t-shirt deal. It's a long sleeve sweatshirt. It has a little pocket in the front with a hoodie, but it's my go-to. And even though I'm in Utah right now, which is freezing, I couldn't show up today without my Win by Noon sweatshirt. So go to the Win by Noon store.
I was almost matching today. Store.winbynoon.com is where to get it. I'll have Robert throw it into YouTube and into the Zoom channel. Yeah, I mean, I think you just crushed it. I mean, you're known as the one-to-many person, right? You bring all these one-to-many strategies, and I think that that's really key. So what would you just, before we let you go, you know, what would you say to somebody about how to take this conversation to more than just one person?
Well, since I'm talking about database and really being the leadership and kind of the captain of the wealth team for your clients, I would focus on doing a financial checkup where you have a webinar or a mastermind where you reach out to your past database, invite them in, tell them their homework is to bring their last 2 months worth of bank statements. And we're just going to highlight, and we're going to look at, you know, Dan Keller has a great video on this of what to highlight in color code to look at what's essential and really focusing on what's coming in, what's coming out, and then what opportunities are there. Maybe that's a great time to then introduce them to a financial advisor, or it is tax season that's coming up. And so be the leader, be there for them right now. There's people that are struggling. We know finance is the #1 stress for Americans. So don't just be the one and done loan officer, go beyond the transaction. And remember what Jim Rohn said, for all that I am, the less I have to say. So when you create that reputation of you're the mortgage coach user, you'd have quality conversations that you have that built into your planner and your calendar so that you're making sure you're being intentional. And then, you know, I hashtag this, Dave shared it when he was practicing, but my advice matters. Prove it. If your advice matters, then prove it. And if your loan process is just like every other loan officer who does loans, then I'm going to say your advice probably doesn't matter, because it's just like everybody else's. So go beyond the transaction, be curious, be obsessed with your clients' needs, stay in touch with them even after the close, and help them navigate through this time when there could be fear.
So let's get ready to bring on our next guest. The only thing I want to add and remind you as it pertains to what Deborah said is every Tuesday, we call it TCA Tuesday. And that is where you would take one of your total cost analysis success stories. And to me, the more transformational it was for the consumer, where they came to you like that interview I did a week ago, where they had gone to their big bank, they had got a rate quote for a refinance, they talked to a mortgage coach, and that mortgage coach showed them, you know, hey, you can pay off your doctor loans, you can pay off your student loans, you can pay off that pool loan, and then if you kept making the same monthly payments, like we're talking millions of dollars. That one particular case study was the difference between having a mortgage for 30 years and having debt and having a $4 million net worth in 30 years based off of mortgage advice. So think of the most transformational stories, and then every Tuesday, share that on social media, whether it's a Facebook Live, whether it's an info graphic that you put together, get that shared. So let's bring on Brian McCauley from Dallas, Texas. Served 450 families last year, did over 150 million in production. This man is a captain of a wealth team. He is a mortgage coach. Welcome to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, Brian, for the first time.
Brother, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, so what I tell everybody, they're saying like, Dave, what script do you want me to do? And I'm like, I want you to do the script that you're excited to do, that you have the most passion around, and knowing that some of your friends are going to be watching this, some of the people that you mentor and coach are going to be watching this, what script do you want to do? So Brian, why did you pick the script that you picked?
Yeah, man. Thankful to be a part of this all-star panel. I chose this professional mortgage planning session script because for me, it's the most impactful one. I love digging in with the client, getting good energy with them, making that connection. So, sometimes people can just weed through the conversations, or the mortgage piece can feel like just an application to be taken. And I want to make sure it's more impactful on the client. So trying to help set the stage for everybody on how to do that, and just give whatever tips I can to help them have more impact with the client.
Well, let's hear it, man. Let's hear your strategy. Let's hear your scripting.
Cool. A little bit of context for everybody as far as watching. So kind of the time frame on this, right? When I have this call with the client, a few things to remember. One, at this point, the team has already got an application from the client. They've got the financials back, and they've got some basic notes from me, okay? So that's kind of where it's at in the process timeline-wise. I call it a professional mortgage planning session, not a pre-qual call, not a pre-approval call. For me, the pre-approval, pre-qual call, it's kind of what low-level competitors call it, and kind of what they do, right? My opinion is true mortgage professionals plan and advise. Low-level glorified application takers don't. I think this call is probably a very big, important point of sale. The borrowers finally have the chance to talk to the doctor, right? And we can have the most impact on them about the way we make them feel. So you got to have good energy, great questions, push the right mental buttons with them, and show more value to help separate from the competition. The other piece about this too is, everybody here obviously is in sales and they want to convert, but the further down the path that clients get with you, the less likely they are to start over, right? So this is important to people to know strategically where it's at in the process, but also how to do it. So what I'm going to do is go through the script, kind of top to bottom, and then I'm going to kind of pause on each one and unpack it, because it's one thing to say it over this great audience, but at the same time, I want some of the people to understand the why I'm asking these questions and putting all these buttons, right? So, of course, the first thing you want to do is solid intro.
Brian,
yeah.
I want to insert something really quick, because I want people to realize this is a man, I looked in the back end just now and wanted to see how many total cost analysis he's done in the last 30 days. And it's 169. So the other thing that he's done is through team and himself, he's delivering this elite personalized experience, and he's doing it at scale. So the other message I want everybody to get from this, everything you're hearing, you can do this. You have time. Like if you take your time and you take a great app, you have a great strategic financial planning conversation with someone, you can do that hundreds of times a month. It's just a question of leadership. So keep it rolling, bro. I just wanted people to realize that what you're doing and what you're describing, this isn't something you do like 20 times a month. This is something that you've done 169 times over the last 30 days. Keep it rolling, brother.
Cool, I appreciate it. I mean, so the first big piece, right, is when you open the conversation with the client, you wanted to say, hey, Brian McCauley, excited to chat with you. Appreciate the opportunity. And obviously, I appreciate you sharing some information with the team. I want to dig in and just spend some extra time with the client to get to know more about them, know more about the home buying journey, just kind of fully understand their needs and goals and kind of see what questions they have for me. Is that fair? They'll say yes, because of course they've been waiting to talk to get everything going, right? So the second piece I slide into on the script is the triangle for trust. I want to know more about their agent relationship. So I would say, hey, first and foremost, how do you know your realtor, Bob? And they'd say, well, Bob helped my sister, Bob helped this, Bob helped that. Cool. I always say, awesome. How's the experience been so far? So the reason I want to ask that is I want to know if they're digging the agent and the agent's doing a good job, or if they can do better, right? So that helps me understand how's the experience. Most of the time it's great. So I follow up with, listen, I've known Bob for years. I can tell you he's a great person, a hard worker. You're in excellent hands. And they're like, cool, that's great to hear. So then my third lead in is, hey, just so I know where to start, what's giving you the idea to become a homeowner? I'm truly interested in the why, okay? Most people will answer one of a few ways. I'm tired of renting. We want our own place. I'm tired of wasting money, etc. Right? So what I do is I flip that back and say, cool, I like that. What I'm hearing you say is that you want to pay your own mortgage now, create your own wealth, and stop making the landlord rich. And it kind of tweaks their brain. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. Okay. And I say, cool, I understand that. I'm going to mark that down as a life goal and a financial goal. I like where your head's at. So I'm building in a little bit of cushion there so they understand there's more to it than taking an application. Okay. So after that, I lead in with the timeline piece. This is a big one. So I say, cool. So talk to me about your ideal timeline to start making offers. Are you actively looking or passively looking? Okay. That's important for me, but it's also important for the clients. So actively looking would be less than 2 weeks. Passively is 2 weeks or more. Why do I care? Well, there's a few reasons on that why. The first one is we all know we're busy and full. So I need to know how quick our team needs to turn around a pre-approval and all the TCAs, right? So if I'm doing a deal for Dave and he's passively looking and he's not looking to make an offer for 2 or 3 weeks, I don't have to hurry and try to get everything done in 24 hours, right? So are you actively or passively looking? Lets me know the turnaround for the pre-approval. And then it also lets me know from the client standpoint, is that need an emotional need or is it a timeline need? Because sometimes people are like, yo, I'm going to make an offer on a house tomorrow. So I know it's a timeline need versus an emotional need, which helps our team priority pair where we do the pre-approval. So that's the second piece. The third one is when you talk to somebody and if they're active or passively looking, whatever their response is, if they're like, hey, I'm looking to do something quick, you lead with no problem. Speed is one of our strengths, and we'll make sure to do everything we can to get all this squared away in the next 24 to 48 hours to make sure that you are ready. Okay, so you squeeze them into, hey, it's a short shot clock, let's get it done together. If people say, well, I'm not going to buy for a while, right? Your counter is, hey, great, I love to hear that. Time is on your side. There's nothing better than having a little extra time when it comes to buying a house. The last thing you want to do is force or skip steps. So it's important to know that, but obviously you can feed this back to the agent as well, so they understand if the people are serious and protect their time. Okay, so that's the timeline piece. The last three I'll cover is the financial goals and priorities, right? So I've got some notes from the team and I'll say, hey, you mentioned the team that you're looking kind of in the $500,000 range, correct? And they'll say, yeah. I'll say, cool, where did that number come from? Is that open houses? Is that shopping online, right? And it lets me understand how they got there. One, it lets me tell the type of person that they are and if they're realistic or not on their time frame and price point, okay? So then I'll slide into two. Okay, cool. So you mentioned the team, you want to keep your budget around 3,000, correct? And they'll say yes. And I'll say, awesome. What's the absolute max if you found your dream home? I always put that in there to say like, oh, I want to stay at X, but if I find the one that I fall in love with, I'm willing to go to X. It lets me know where their cutoff line is. Third piece on that is the down payment, right? Hey, you mentioned to the team, you've got a 10% down, correct? Cool. So we know the budget, we know the cash. So I always ask them out of the two, just so I'm clear, is there one that's more important than the other? Keeping the payment as low as possible or coming out of pocket with low cash, right? And that lets me set the stage for them to say, hey, which one's more important to you and why? It helps me structure the loan, but it also lets me know where more of the give is. So in case I have to adjust, I'm adjusting to them, not me, okay? The other piece of that, after I transition into their financial goals and priorities, I transition into, hey, Dave, man, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I help hundreds of families a year. I'm going to help you become a homeowner, but I'm going to help you become a smart homeowner. That's a different game, right? This is the biggest investment in the purchase of your life. I want to make sure that we are maximizing all your money in the right area. And I don't want to just restrict our thinking to the mortgage only. I want to help you create wealth through homeownership. Okay. So that's kind of the lead in on the financial goals. And I explained to them, cool, once we get done, I'm going to send you my 6 steps to financial freedom, my wealth accumulation, show you how to run a budget, right? So we can put you in the best position possible. I slide in after that, fears or concerns. So talk to me about buying a house in this market. What keeps you up at night, right? Because I want to know where their head's at. Sometimes they'll say, well, these are my fears, multiple offers, my friend got a bad inspection, I had a home loan, didn't close on time. You just want to know what's out there and where they're at. Sometimes the stuff is real, sometimes the stuff isn't, but either way, you as the professional, you get to build the rapport, navigate all the fears, kind of give them a guarantee and a closing piece, and obviously figure out again what you can do to overcome those objections. So that's the fear, concern about buying a house piece. And then the last piece I lead with is once I get through all of that, I just explain to them, hey, buying a house is a lot, right? But you're doing things the right way. You're giving yourself the best chance by having all these conversations and doing all the documents and everything up front. It really sets you up for three big things. It eliminates all of your risks so your loan won't fall out, right? It gives you a great experience so you get to the finish line on time, and it will help you win the offer. And I explained to them, help you win the offer means if the listing agent has 10 offers, they're going to pick up the piece of paper and say, who's the lender, who's the borrower, are they local, can they close on time, is this real, all these things, and explain to them, hey, this will help you put yourself in a position and set yourself up for success. So when you have to make that offer, you've got the best shot, right? So that's the way I kind of wrap everything in. And then my last piece is, hey, before I set the stage on the next step, right? Any additional questions that you had for me in the meantime, anything that I missed, anything that you want to unpack for now. And every now and then they'll ask a small question. Sometimes they won't. It all depends upon the person. And I say, cool, well, this is a great step in the right direction. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you a recap of our conversation via email tomorrow, finish up your financial review, put together all the strategies that we discussed, and deliver that to you and the team by end of business X day, right? Sound fair? Okay, great. Awesome. Appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon. So all of that is how I go through the mortgage planning session, the sections, the why, and the bullet points to push, because I want to make sure that I guide them down the right path. I want to give them as much help as I can this time around, but I also want to separate myself from the competition. So in case they're talking to someone else, my feeling is they're not getting that much value elsewhere, and price is only an issue when value isn't clear. So the more I can push in, the better for them. So that's my 30-minute script in 8 minutes, and I'll let you ask questions wherever you need, man.
That is so
price,
awesome.
Yeah, and price is only an issue when value isn't there. And while there are grinders, there are a certain percentage of the population that they're going to still grind you. But remember, guys, there's 20% that are going to do business with you for just showing up. And the goal is to get that other 80%. 20% will never do business. 20% will always do business. How do we get all 80? Dude, that was brilliant. Real quick, just when you give the total cost analysis after you've done that interview, what are the words that you use to describe the total cost analysis that you give to the family? How do you frame that and position that? Just 30 seconds or less.
Yeah, I mean, I talk to people about price points. So if they're buying at 500 grand, I usually do a low, medium, and a high and say, hey, you want to do 10% down? When I issue the pre-approval, I'm going to give you a low, medium, and high. What I find in this market is if you're looking at 499, you're not going to find it. You'll find a 475, you'll find a 550, things here and there. And so I want to front load and set that for them. So I say, hey, what I'm going to do is give you a low, medium, and high. If you're looking at 500,000, I'm going to do 450, 500, 550, all with 10% down. That sets the stage for them, for the realtors, and shows what it does at the bottom line on payments, cash to close, and the details. So there's no big surprises. It drives clarity on that piece. They can't go back to, well, I saw on realtor.com this. It's specific to them, it's real, but it also front loads it where the borrower has the incremental pieces. The realtor can look at the TCA, everybody's on the same page, and you can drive them back to that. In the events, it's nights, weekends, questions, it's a little bit more heavy up front. So I do a low, medium, and high when it comes to the pre-approval on the price point.
Love that. And for Linda, the question, it's a total cost analysis. Another really common total cost analysis in this market is interest rate options. Yep. So no points, half point, point and a half, all the way up to 2 points, and let them pick it. So
right.
Todd, anything you want to pull out from Brian before we bring Shayla on stage?
Well, I mean, he started off calling it a professional mortgage planning session, right? How are you framing your conversations with your clients? How are you differentiating yourself so that you stand out? I mean, in the end, you just heard him say he's got a 30-minute planned out process. He's connecting with the client. He's figuring out what their why is, because that's really important to him as a mortgage planner. And ultimately, in the end, if you think through coming up with a process like this, you know, you'll do better. Dave, we're getting a ton of questions right now around if the scripts will be available and then how to get those. So real quick, I'm going to show the taking action notes. If you want to get those, so we've got a professional, what do you call her, Dave? A professional learner, a professional note taker, transcriber. She's got a fancier name than that I'm drawing a blank to, but if you just text Dave and I.
E-learning expert.
E-learning expert, that is it. I don't know why I drew a blank. Apparently my script is off today. But if you want to get those scripts, just text Dave and I at this number, either one of those numbers or both. And we would love to have you as part of our community. And we'll make sure that as soon as those are ready, you'll have access to that. We'll also be posting up at winbynoon.com/scripts with an S on it. We'll have a transcription of this up by the end of the week.
All right, guys. So that was awesome, Brian. Thank you so much. I think just about everybody in the mortgage coach community knows Shayla Gifford. She's been a speaker on the Modern Mortgage Summit. She's, you know, a top producing team leader. Her team does, I think, over 250 million a year. They're a market leader in Reno, Nevada. Shayla has done an extraordinary job of, you know, not only adopting and becoming a mortgage coach, but helping a lot of loan officers at the company she works with through coaching become mortgage coaches. Welcome to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, Shayla.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here. Brian, you crushed it. That was so good.
Thank you. You helped me plenty of times over the years. So some of that's yours that I stole.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty, guys. Steal everything you hear, you know, make sure you get value from this. So Shayla, you have some scripts that you want to share. Why don't you tell us why? Why did you pick the scripts and then get into it?
Yeah, well, I'm going to address two scripts, which is, gosh, your rate sounds high, or that seems like a high rate. The second script is really realtors, which is, yeah, you know, I've heard that you guys are great, but you have high rates. So I think those would be powerful in the current market and really relevant to maybe something you've heard this week. So I'm ready to do it.
So I want to know in chat, how many have seen that come up a little bit more over the past 2 months? I want you to think about last year, what it was like in the business, and I want you to think about over the past couple weeks, couple months, how much more are you hearing that? And it looks like yes, 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 every day, 100%, amen, hell yes, all the time. So Shayla, rock it out.
Okay, so when you're feeling alone sometimes and you want to bang your head against your desk, just see all of your friends here in the community that this is what it is right now. This is what we have to get good at. So I first want to address, as a sales professional, I think Brian just encapsulated what it looks like. You must have the mindset of, I am the right person for the job. When you're showing up to any client phone call, any client presentation, or any realtor presentation, you've got to believe in yourself. You've got to know your strengths and how your strengths are going to help that person achieve their goals, help that real estate agent sell more homes, help that buyer achieve home ownership. That's just first and foremost. Second thing is, objections are not something to be afraid of. If you just think of them as questions, when somebody has to say, gosh, that rate seems high, if you could flip it in your mind to a question, which is that rate high? All of a sudden, we know how to answer that question. We don't need to get flustered or feel, you know, insecure or attacked or something like that. If it's just a question. Oftentimes, when you're getting these kind of objections, your rate seems high, or I heard your rates are high, it's really the question of, can I trust you? Can I trust my clients with you? So it always comes back to education, right? So I'm going to get to the script next, but I wanted to talk about prevention, because if you can anticipate objections and build into your process, just like what Brian was talking about in his professional mortgage planning session, if you can build this in early, you get much less objections later, or you can always reference back to the education that you did before. So I just first want to say, make sure you have this pre-approval or professional mortgage planning session every single time with every single client, because then you will know if you need to add or delete or tweak or change something in your presentation. Because if you keep getting the same objections, you did not do a good job up front creating that trust and creating that value with the client. Always ask what their goal is for payment, cash to close, and their timeline. Brian did a great job on that. You're going to need that later, but always have that information, always, always. Second thing is we need to, as loan officers, explain our role. Like, I think often we don't realize that people don't even know what a loan officer means. And PS, by the way, there's so many different titles for loan officer, from mortgage planner, VP of this, mortgage originator, MLO. What is a loan officer and what do we do? So here's a script. You know, Dave, I want you to know, as a loan officer, I see my role as having 4 key jobs as your loan officer. Number one, it's crucial that you choose a loan officer that can properly qualify you for a home loan, that thinks and behaves like an underwriter and knows the guidelines so that we can do all the analyzing around your income, around your employment or business history, around the type of property you're looking to buy, your credit. It's important that a loan officer is good at that so that you know when you're pre-approved or approved for a home, you're actually going to qualify for that loan. That's my first job, a really important thing a loan officer does for you. The second thing is that I want to provide you solid financial advice on how you can structure this major financial milestone, because there's so many different ways that you could approach this. And I want to be that person that's going to provide you those strategies. The third job is that I'm your strategic partner in helping you win the deal. You know, you could work with a loan officer anywhere in the nation. There's 150,000 of us. But I think the value for me is that I'm here locally. I've been doing this for 18 years. I've built relationships with all of the local players, including appraisers and title companies and agents. And you need somebody that's going to go to battle for you with a reputation, that's going to call that other agent, that's going to advocate for you. That's my job, is helping be your person to let you get offers accepted and fight for you in the market. And then the fourth job I have as your loan officer is to manage the entire team to make sure your loan closes on time and smooth. Oftentimes there's 25 different players that integrate into this process, from both the real estate agents, the title company, the escrow officer, the insurance agent, the IRS, the Social Security office, your employers, all my internal people, the underwriter, the funder, the doctor. It's my job as a captain to coordinate that team and make sure that we meet the deadlines to have a successful close. So in choosing a loan officer, you want to make sure you find somebody. And the reason you came highly referred to me is that I pride myself on really working hard in all 4 areas of these areas so that you could be successful. And the other thing I want to say transparently, because I don't think anyone talks about, is how I get paid. You don't pay for me and my services. I get paid as a commission from my mortgage lender, from Guild Mortgage, to successfully close your transaction. I'm a highly referred loan officer. I'm by referral only, and that's on purpose. I'm building relationships. I want to serve you. I want to serve your colleagues. I want to serve your friends. So everything that I do is in the benefit of educating you, providing value to you, so that hopefully I will be referred down the line. But I don't get paid by my bank until I successfully help you close your loan. That might be in 30 days, it might be in 6 months, and it might be in 2 years. Yes, Dave.
Shayla, so we've had a little bit of a chat around losing loans when someone else has an 1/8 better in rate. And, you know, I've done a lot of interviews on this. There's one called Winning with Rate Shoppers. My opinion is, if you're losing loans because someone else has an 1/8 better, there's something that you're not doing right in the discovery process. And 3/8 better, it starts getting tough. For the person that said that, you want to get the conversation off of rate and what's the cost over 5 years. But Shayla, what leadership do you bring to loan officers, like when it comes to an 1/8? How do you answer that?
Well, I think we've been behaving more like order takers the last 2 years, guys, because we've been in a refi space. That is not how it works, fortunately, in purchase. Yes, we have to do way more work on the front end, and we have to do a pre-qual and a pre-approval and a mortgage planning session and probably send out pre-approval 16 times. But there's way more of an opportunity to build a relationship and provide value and build trust on a purchase transaction than there is on a refi, where it's much more commodity driven. So if somebody ever says, "What's your rate?" and you respond or answer the question, you lose. I think that's what Brian just so dynamically offered in his scripting, is that he's constantly feeling out the borrower in every question he asks. Everything is very thoughtful. So again, educate and prepare for any objections up front. After I've already told, this is what a loan officer does, and this is how I get paid, then I said, now let's talk about interest rates, because most people today would think that the best mortgage that they can get is the lowest rate. Okay. But here's the deal. You ultimately get to decide what rate you want to choose, Dave. The reality is every loan today is, well, 90% of loans are all being bought by the federal government, by Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, and VA. That's right. Whether you work with me or you work with Johnny at Bank of America or Susie over at the broker across the street, we're all selling the same mortgages to the same place. So it goes back to what I said earlier in choosing the right company and the right loan officer that is going to provide those services to you. But let me kind of educate you a little bit about the game, because with social media and with the internet, it's really confusing. And quite frankly, it's meant to be confusing. The more that people can confuse consumers, the more that they can, win business, right? So that is absolutely the opposite way I work. So let me show you Mortgage News Daily, which tracks dozens of lenders, and you could see what's going on with interest rates. This is an interest rate survey. It also looks at Freddie Mac data. This is a great spot where you can look at what interest rates are doing. I can also show you Quicken's website. You can see what rate they put out there. And then if you scroll to the fine print, it says that you'll get that FHA loan with 2 points or almost 3 points. On a $400,000 loan, that's $8,000 in extra fees to get the rate. Here's USAA, here's Wells Fargo. So you can see, even though we're selling the same mortgage to the same place, it's very confusing the way information is presented. And on top of that, the interest rate that you're given depends on so many factors. I think Denise would say 21 factors or something, but it's based on your credit score. It's based on your down payment. It's based on the type of property. It's based again on do you want to pay more money up front to get a lower rate long-term? So I say all of this to you because I want you to know I'm watching all of this for you. Every day I have access to 12 different investors that are still selling the loan to the same place, but may price that investment differently. And overall, we're all going to be pretty neck and neck as long as you can really understand the fees and rates you're paying. So I want to show you a sample of what you can look at once you get under contract, because until you're under contract to buy a house, looking at interest rates is not going to help you, because bottom line, people can say whatever they want to say until you've got your credit pulled, you've got a full approval, and you've got a contract to close, and you're going to lock in a rate. So the TCA at this point that I show Dave is just a generic one that says this isn't for you. This is to show you at a $500,000 purchase, here's a rate with 2 points, here's a rate with 1 point, and here's a rate with no points. And you can see you can have any one of these rates. In fact, here's my rate sheet. Today, I can go anywhere from a 3% to a 5%. But you can see there's a major difference in how much money you've got to bring to the table. So I'm going to always be focused on you and your goals. What you had said to me before is that your payment goal is $3,000 a month and that you want to stay with 10% down. So roughly about $60,000 out of pocket. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So the next step is, so I just went through all of the kind of education, prevention of overcoming the objection in that pre-approval meeting or the professional mortgage planning meeting. Because if you don't do that up front, guys, and then they hit you with it later, you have nothing to reference back to. And it seems like you're backpedaling. Also, people want to feel like they're not being duped. They want trust. They want psychological safety. So you got to educate people, because it's especially millennials are craving for it. So this is the closing line. The next step is, so the good news is you're 90% of the way done with the pre-approval process. The next step is for you to find that right home. So what you do is you get them completely focused on what they need to do. And then we guide them again. And then we focus them, and then we guide them again. So just real quick on the exact script for what is your rate, or your rate seems high. So somebody calls and they say, gosh, that rate seems high. You want to say, really? What do you mean? And you shut up and you say nothing else. Because just like Brian said, it might be just like I don't know, I pulled out of my butt and it just seems high. It could mean like, oh, well, I've talked to 25 different lenders in the last 48 hours and I've got 4 different loan estimates and here's what it is. you got to know what you're dealing with. That person that has 5 different loan estimates is probably not your customer. It's not my customer. I can say, well, look, if you've got all this research done, I'm so impressed. That's incredible. I think that's the right, smart thing for you to do. I want you to know that you came highly referred to me by Jenny. And again, she highly referred you because not only am I good at mortgage advice and strategy, but also the other 3 things of managing the team and getting the loan closed on time, helping you win the offer. Remember, I called the seller's agent for you and I got them to accept the offer with my reputation, my pre-approval. And also, I properly qualified you. So I totally understand if you need to leave me at this point. Remember, I don't get paid unless I have a successful loan closing, but I also don't want you to feel obligated to work with me. I want you to want to work with me because of the value I provide. And not just that, I want you to be so thrilled that you're referring friends and family after. So because Jenny is such a great referral source for me and we've built this relationship, send me your very best loan estimate or even 2 of them and all look line by line and see what they may or may not have included or what they're missing. And if you have a better, way better situation there, I'll tell you to go with it. But generally speaking, most customers, if it's within an 1/8 up or down, they would rather work with somebody they trust. So does that seem fair? Will you send me your best 2 and I'll take a look and I'll let you know. So I don't want them to drag me into it. I'll let them go out and shop and get all that and bring it back. The first one is really, if you just say, really, what do you mean? A lot of times it's like, I don't know. I was just talking to my friends at work and, oh yeah. Remember how we talked about in our pre-approval meeting, how rates move around? Let's go back to the chart. Let me show you what your options are. Let's look at the options again. Is your payment goal still $3,000 a month? Are you still wanting this? Yeah, I totally understand it feels high compared to what it was. Let's go back and figure out what you choose, what is best for you. You know, does the house need any work? Does it need a new hot tub? Does it need new flooring? Does it need new countertops? Maybe you want to put less money down. And then you start getting them focused again back on their goals and their dreams. And usually that works out well. And then I'm good to move on to the last one, I'm assuming.
Keep going, Shayla. You're just rocking it.
Okay.
Move on to the last one. Before you do that, I do want to recommend folks that if you get the full-on grinder, rather than negotiate with price exceptions, you talk about what is the dollar difference between the competitive loan and your loan over 5 years. If it's less than $5,000 over 5 years, if you're not delivering an experience that's worth $5,000, then there is something wrong with the way you've positioned it, or it's one of that 20% that you're never going to get and just let them go. So now if it does get to be over 5,000, but now instead of negotiating your price exception with an eighth of a rate, which is a very expensive, I mean, that's 50 basis points, you can start negotiating with dollars that might give a more fractional exception to keep the loan. So just make sure you listen to that. We do a lot of interviews. Listen to my interview, Winning with Rate Shoppers. And for all the questions that are coming up, we're going to do more interviews. Like, in fact, this Friday, I'm going to be interviewing Jeremy Forcier on all of his scripts. Like, when I asked Jeremy, what script do you want to do? He gave me like 10. And I'm like, well, you can only do 1, but can you come back this Friday and we'll do all 10? And he said, right on. So we're going to get 10 scripts from Jeremy this Friday, and we'll keep this going. So what's the last point, Sheila?
The last one is same exact thing. Some people just lob an objection because they feel like they need to. Some people feel like if they don't say, well, do you have a better room for me? Is that the best deal you can give me? Did you give me the cheapest rate on the rental car? They don't feel good about it. So some people just lob it just to see. And if you stand your ground and say, yes, that's a great rate today. I've looked everywhere. I've been watching the market for you. I highly recommend you lock. Then a lot of times people are like, okay, I trust you. Let's do it. Right. So again, just look at it as a question. But the realtor one, you know, I've heard great things about Guild, but I've heard your rates are high, and you replace Guild with whoever you are, wherever you are in the marketplace. So first thing, I play to a strength in my market, which is our market share. You may play to something different, but we've been #1 market share since 2013. And so I say, listen, we compete every single day in the purchase space with online lenders, with call centers, with brokers, with banks, with everybody. There's a reason why we continue to be the #1 most trusted lender. And we're competitive every single day, and people have all the information at their fingertips. If we were that high or we were out of the market, that would not be the case. Would you agree? And usually they say yes. The other thing is, really, where'd you hear that? And oftentimes it's like, I don't know, just maybe some agents in the office. Well, that's interesting. I've never heard that. Are they looking at rate sheets? Are they comparing two loan estimates on the same day? Where do you think they're getting that? Oh, I don't know. It must be just from other lenders or hearsay, right? So you'll find out if an objection is a real objection and they really want you to overcome it, or if it's just kind of a lob. And then you just go, listen, I would love to help you be comfortable with this because your trust in referring me means the world to me. I don't win unless you win. And I want you to be enthusiastically, highly referring me and my team so we can do the same thing back. So I can bring you my rate survey from the Icon report. I can bring this, I could bring that. I could show you what we've got in Optimal Blue against other lenders. I can do a whole range of things to document where we sit in the marketplace. What would be the most helpful to help you feel comfortable here? And most of the time people are like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal because I just know you're going to perform. But don't be afraid to just hit it head on and say, really, where'd you hear that from? And how can I educate and help you answer that question?
I just love it. And I love where you started, Shayla, right? With believing in yourself. You have to have the mindset to be able to do that. And I think the other gold in between all of those other scripts was where Shayla said, hey, to say, really, where'd you hear that? Or really, why'd you think that? And then she's quiet, right? As loan officers, we like to fill that blank space. So I think that was a great reminder to everyone, Shayla, on just the whole power in silence and having that pause.
So guys, I want everybody to write down the acronym WACD. WACD. Write down this acronym, guys. So I first heard this from the chief futurist of Intel, who was consulting specialty retailers. And he's like, and I had asked him, hey, my community is a lot of referral-based local mortgage professionals. What advice do you have for them? And that's what he said to me. Dave, write down WACD. I'm like, all right, wrote it down. What's it mean? And what it means is what Amazon can't do. So all the specialty retailers that have been executing on this strategy, they're killing it. And all of them that haven't, they're either out of business or they're losing market share. You take Nordstrom's, for instance. You go into a Nordstrom's and they don't have what you want. They're like, oh, you could go to this store and get it. We could have it sent to you, or I could have it here in the store in 2 days. You know, they're doing what Amazon can do, and they're doing what Amazon can't do. Now, guys, we are in housing, in real estate, so put a Z in it. What Amazon and Zillow can't do, and what they can do. And so you're hearing from Shayla. She's doing things that Amazon and Zillow Mortgage cannot do. And then I know, because I know her tech stack, the way they take it out, the way they deliver advice with Mortgage Coach, the way they run business. Every person on this stage is doing what Amazon can't do and can't do. So Shayla, you are an absolute rock star. Todd, anything else you want to say about Shayla before you bring on our next guest?
You know, I could talk all day about Shayla. However, I think I just want to say thank you, Shayla, since I know you're coming live from Spain of all crazy places. So it's just so grateful for you to be part of this community and add so much value.
Thank you. I'd never done this before, but I recorded this talk on a voice note as I was practicing because I didn't know if my timing was going to work. And I know for me, a lot of times I'm on a walk and I like to listen to voice and I can't always watch videos. So I have that if anybody wants to DM me. It was just a practice. It's probably a little bit rough, but I know that stuff like what Brian just did, Deborah talked about, has changed my life and my business. So I really hope everybody takes these little nuggets and then just has the guts to try it, just to say what I said and then shut up, and every fiber in your body's gonna be like, oh my God, I just did that. And then you walk away and go, oh, that worked. And that's how you make the shifts and the changes in your business. It'll change your life. So Todd and Dave, you guys are making a major impact today doing this. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, that was just truly awesome. Thank you so much, Shayla. Hey, real quick, I got a bunch of people DMing me and texting me about Win by Noon, if we're going to do a Win by Noon offer. So let me just throw that up real quick. I'm not going to do a big Win by Noon pitch. Deborah already talked about it earlier. But if you do want to try out Win by Noon, just go to winbynoon.com, order a loan officer planner, just type in SCRIPT-22 and you'll get the first month for free. So you get the planner, and then if you like it, you keep running with it. If you don't like it, you just cancel, then you've got it for free. And I'm going to be running a webinar for anyone who signs up during this event. I'll run a special webinar for you guys next week once the planners all arrive. So just head over to Win by Noon, type in SCRIPT-22, and you will get a free planner to get rolling. So excited about all of you asking. Thank you so much. I can't believe.
Todd, before we bring on the next guest, I do want to say something, because especially we're getting more and more new loan officers getting into the business. And the advice, I have two pieces of advice for every new loan officer. I'm big on, to be successful, you need to conquer your fears. The obstacle is the way. It's one of my all-time favorite books. I have a coin in my pocket, that's obstacles the way. And the obstacle for new loan officers is prospecting. You need to prospect 2 hours a day to win by noon. And you need to do at least one total cost analysis by noon to win by noon. So if there's nothing else you get from today, it's the concept of win by noon. Now, maybe you want to go to the Win by Noon store, get a shirt, get a sticker, get the planner, but we're giving you scripts, we're giving you words, but all these scripts and words will be worthless if you don't get your prospecting time in, if you don't create that total cost analysis, and if you don't win by noon. But you know what? I've never interviewed someone, and whether they call it Win by Noon, the brand, and they use Todd's planner, as a philosophy, they get their prospecting in by noon. They do the most important things to run their business by noon. So just wanted to put a little extra juice on that, Todd. And who's our next guest?
It is none other than Dan Keller. I almost feel like Dan doesn't need an introduction in our community, but for those of you who don't know Dan, I think that Dan's really carving out a niche for himself. We talked at the opening about being the captain of the wealth team, and I feel like, Dan, you're doing such an amazing job of digging in with the financial side of your clients' lives, and I know you're going to be talking through a few of your favorite scripts today. So without further ado, from Seattle, Washington, Dan Keller.
Thanks, guys. Such awesome content so far. Dave, you said something about 15 minutes ago that I learned in 2010 as a new loan officer, when I started getting commission checks, and I saw these commission checks for helping these families. And I was like, I'm getting $3,000 for closing a loan. I'm getting $4,000 for closing a loan. And I put this practice to work a long time ago. I want to deliver more value to each customer than $3,000 or a $4,000 loan commission. And you hit it right on the head. We've gotten away from that. The coaching program that I'm in is all about leads. It's all about numbers. It's the one thing I really dislike about it. How quick can you get in and out of a conversation with a customer? And I'll give a customer as many minutes, as many hours, as much time as they need. But that was another reason, you guys, why I spent so much time since 2010 building out a YouTube channel with content. I know we got the nerd, the mortgage nerd from Texas here. We got Brian. These guys and gals, these superstars, have committed to creating content. We need to be creating content right now. More than ever, we owe it to our communities. We owe it to America. We owe it to our clients and our realtor partners as well. We have access to information that we need to share and get out there. So Dave, such a great intro to what I wanted to talk about today. And
real
that's
quick, Dan.
Yep.
Dan, before you go, I'm going to be seeing you in Vegas in a couple of weeks at the Momentum Builder event. And I want to call out the fact, Don Gottlieb just reminded me, and check it out in chat, guys, that the man himself, Ryan Holiday, who wrote The Obstacle is the Way, is going to be speaking at that event. So we got to call that out. It's going to be awesome. I'm also going to be doing a panel with a couple amazing mortgage professionals. So just wanted to make sure everybody saw that in chat. There is a mortgage coach discount. Check it out. Dude, I wish I was there with that bat. I'm looking forward to hearing this whole story. Let's go.
I was just having a conversation a few minutes ago with Haley, my executive assistant. And I said, anytime I get an opportunity to speak, I mean, we have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people watching this, and then potentially hundreds of thousands that will watch this down the road. And I always get, jitters in my stomach. I get a little bit nervous, I guess you'd say. But the second I pick up this bat, this is the 34, 32 that I swung for so many years, hit tons of home runs with, had so many amazing memories. all of those jitters just went away. All of a sudden I felt comfortable, but that's not the purpose of this bat. I wanted to use this prop because right now, what we're going through right now, I'm leaning on what sport, what baseball, what coaching baseball taught me, what playing at a very high level taught me. You know, arguably the best hitter of all time, Ted Williams said, when asked, what is the secret to being the best hitter of all time? And he kept it simple. He said, get a good pitch to hit. Then he writes a book, The Art of Hitting, right? And it's a little bit more thorough on getting a good pitch to hit. The idea around it was to eliminate all pitches that you can't hit. Find your sweet spot. All of that leans on preparation. A lot of that preparation and then a game plan. Guys, we are built for this market right now. All of us. All of the leaders on this call close hundreds of loans a year. That gives you the experience to be the best of the best. It also gives you the experience to advise, to teach, and to educate at a super high level. So my point today in using this bat is to not talk about the glory days, some of the most amazing memories that I had, where 3 years in a row in college and semi-pro ball, I hit a home run out of the park on Mother's Day, which is super emotional for me because that meant the world to my mom. Or the one time my grandfather got to come see me play baseball. He played Major League Baseball with the Pirates. And for whatever reason, never wanted to come out and watch me. But the one time he came out and watched me in semi-pro ball, hit probably the furthest home run I had ever hit. We can talk about that later over a beer. But today, right now, the idea around this bat and my message is to focus on preparation and then preparation leading into winning. And I'm talking about winning with first-time home buyers, winning with move-up home buyers. It's a conversation that I'm having. I said last night on Instagram, I think I sent you a video, Dave. I don't have a lot of scripts. I'm not a guy that believes in scripts. I don't like to call potential clients leads. These are future clients. These are people that I want to help. My scripts, or if you want to refer to them they're called go-to conversations. So I want to share with you guys the go-to conversation that I'm having every single day with first-time home buyers and move-up buyers. But if you're taking notes, I want you to write down these 4 things because I think it's so important. This talk today, this strategy, these go-to conversations that we have, mine are centered around 4 simple things. Number 1, to impress upon the client the importance of their mortgage decision, the financial importance of their mortgage decision. Number 2, you got to bring charisma. I gave a talk the other day, a coaching call the other day on the value of charisma. Charisma is how you enter the phone call. Deb, I'm so excited to be talking with you right now. I've been waiting all day for this phone call. In fact, I just got off a 2-hour phone call with our corporate office with underwriters. Man, am I glad to actually talk to a human being and a client right now, a home buyer. So charisma, bringing that energy. Number 3, confidence. And I'm going to share with you how I breed confidence in these initial phone calls. Number 4, a game plan that they can execute, a clear game plan that they can execute. And that's where Mortgage Coach comes in. Right off the bat, before pre-approval, I've shared this before in the Mortgage Coach community, every single one of my clients gets a mortgage budgeting report. Basically, and I'm going to share with you how I gather this info, but it walks them through connecting down payment, monthly payment goals with home values. And in today's market, just because it's listed at 800, you're not buying it at 800, right? So before I go into my initial talk, I'm getting an alert on my computer that my battery's dead. So let me plug this in real quick. Dave, if you have any questions or anything you want to say as I change ports.
Yeah, wouldn't be good to have your battery go dead, Dan, while you're on. I think the thing, were you going to do you mentioned Deborah, so you can do a little role play here with Deborah. Is that coming up? Wait, Dan still got himself on mute, so I'm talking, but I see Denise up here. What's up, Denise?
Hey,
I'm just gonna
guys,
say, I'm throwing it out there. I think Dan, I'm just saying it. I think Dan might be like the Dan Marino QB. He is the QB of debt. Like if you don't follow Dan on social, to me, when I first met him, he was the one that I was like, man, this guy gets being a debt advisor more than any other mortgage banker that I saw posting and educating. And so I don't know if it's Dan Marino or if we want to say Tom Brady, but like I think he's the Tom Brady in our business. I'm just calling it out there.
I don't know about that. I'll take Finkel. What is Dan Finkel and Einhorn from Ace Ventura? I'll take Dan.
Walter Ventura.
I love that.
I love it.
Thank
I love
you.
it. I love all the sports metaphors. So the importance of the decision, and I do think that's one of those pivotal things from all the interviews I've done with loan officers versus advisors, mortgage coaches, is that a loan advisor and a mortgage coach, because they've done so many total cost analysis, they know the importance of the mortgage decision because they've seen the long-term impact. They've seen families that went to big bank or online lender and got a rate quote, and they've seen that, and they've seen what it looks like. And and by the way, we're talking hundreds of times a month. Dan on average does 60 to 80 total costs a month. So 60 to 80 times a month, he's having a different conversation where he's delivering value. So that importance of the decision, if all you ever do is give a family a fee worksheet, I'm telling you, loan officers, you actually really don't realize just how strategically, what a strategic impact you could make if you go from playing checkers, here's your rate, here's your payment, here's your cash close, to being an advisor, hey, here's loan options, here's what the cost of those options are over 5 years and 15 years, and here's a strategy to pay off your mortgage faster. So that is so huge. And then of course, number 2 was, he called it charisma. I'll call it your energy and your vibe. And that's another thing, that when you start delivering advice and you believe in your heart of your heart that, you know what, I am so valuable and I'm such in the best interest of this client that it would be worth them to write me a $5,000 check. Like my rate could be 1/4 to 3/8 higher. And I know in my heart, because of myself, my team, I know that I'm doing annual reviews so that I'm not only going to make sure they get the right loan today, but they're going to have the right loan year after year after year. That you show up with a different level of energy, vibe, and as Dan called it, charisma. So Dan, anything else you want to make sure you share before we bring on the next speaker?
Yeah, so let's just jump in. I think we're 7.5, 8 minutes into it. I got about 3 or 4 minutes left. Let's just jump into the talk track real quick. There's 4 things that I share.
Deb, get ready to role play if Dan wants to role play.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to role play. We totally can, Deb. But the first thing that I do, like I said, when I make that phone call, it goes back to when I was talking about baseball. It goes back to preparation and mindset. Like every phone call, I tell my team this, every new client phone call, Realtor says, hey, I've just met a client. I need you to call them to get the pre-approval process started. That's game day for me. That's how I look at that. I've prepared for that. Going back to that quote by Ted Williams, I've prepared for this moment. I put a smile on my face. We all have drama. We're all dealing with certain things in our life. It's game day. I checked it in at the door and I'm bringing energy or charisma. So as I make that phone call, I'm letting them know how excited I am to have this conversation. The other thing that I do initially right out the gate is, I know Shayla's talked about this before, and Jeremy, a lot of us have been taught this, to triangle for trust. Okay, so we want to edify the referral source. I want to talk about how they were introduced to us and what did that person say. Most of my realtors introduce me because of our process, our team, and because I care so much about their financial well-being. Going back to the beginning, my number 1 focus for an initial client call is for them to realize the financial importance of this home purchase and this mortgage decision. The reason why I ask the following 3 or 4 questions, you guys, is to get them to say it to me. Okay, so after we get through the breakthrough the call, the triangle for trust, I let them know that, listen, I have this conversation with every single client, whether you're buying a $250,000 house or a $4 million house. And then we go into, how important it is for me to understand what you want out of your mortgage versus what banks and credit unions and most mortgage brokers will give you. They deliver a pre-approval for $1 million, for example. They don't give you a cost breakdown. You're pre-approved for $1 million. You really, if you were to analyze your budget and get feedback through a mortgage coach total cost analysis, you'd understand you probably wanted to be around that $800,000 mark, for example. So that $1 million pre-approval letter does nothing for you but set improper expectations. I learned a long time ago in business, and this is what I say. I learned a long time ago in business and in relationships, especially with my family, my kids, and my wife. You get one shot to set proper expectations. You can't go back and change the rules because you lose trust, and then it's more difficult to arrive at the end goal. So my job right now today is to set proper expectations moving forward. And that's why I want to cater this mortgage to you. So I want to ask you a few questions real quick, if you don't mind, so that I can create a mortgage budgeting report that will help you tell me what you want to be approved for, not me telling you what I will lend you. The first question I have to ask for you is, hey, how much do you pay right now in rent? And I write that down because it's going into a rent versus own analysis. Number two, you find that perfect home. It checks off at least 9 out of 10 boxes for your wish list in a home. What is the maximum that you're willing to pay monthly? It includes property taxes, homeowners insurance, private mortgage insurance. We'll go over all of that in a meeting, but all of your mortgage expenses, it includes what's the maximum amount you're willing to pay. Lastly, how much money do you have saved up right now or when you buy for a down payment and closing costs on a house? So I listen to them. A lot of times gift questions comes up. And the last thing I'll ask is, what is your timeline? Is this urgent? Is this something next week, month, 1 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 12? So now I have enough information, you guys, to put together a mortgage coach rent versus own analysis. And I commit to getting them that report. If it's during the day, same day. If it's 5 or 6 o'clock at night, they'll have it first thing the next morning. And then I ask them, I close with this. I ask them to review the report. In the email, I'm going to send you a report. I'm going to send you a should I buy or rent in Seattle video that I made. It's on my YouTube channel. I want to get them going there. I want them to see the content that I make, and I want them to watch that video because it's super valuable. It stacks renting, pros and cons, purchasing, pros and cons, and then in the end, the financial implications of both. So I have them look at the TCA, the rent versus own. I have them look at, is it a good time to rent or buy in Seattle right now on my YouTube channel? And lastly, in that email, when you're ready, here is the link to our secure online mortgage application page. And when you fill that out, it's go time. We'll jump on that. We'll turn it around within 12 hours.
Dan Keller, you are rocking it out, bro. We've got tons of amazing feedback from everyone. Guys, we do realize we're a little behind schedule, and we are completely okay with that. That we have the people that are on this stage are just too important. They're too prepared. So if this thing goes, I hope it doesn't go over 3 hours, but if it does, we're going to let it roll. And then we're also going to be creating micro content from it. We're going to be creating, taking action notes. Dan mentioned his total cost analysis. So every speaker on this stage uses Mortgage Coach. Every speaker on this stage is a Mortgage Coach Grand Master. So we're going to get their samples of their TCAs. I think some of them have already sent those total cost analysis. So you can hear the scripts and then you can see the presentation. And those will be in the taking action notes. I'm going to try to get a purchase in a refi total cost analysis from each of these folks that is relevant to today's market. So most of the refi total cost analysis in this market will be debt consolidation because we're a little out of the money on rate and terms. Not everybody is, but it's not a flood of that. So keep an eye on those total cost analysis to come. Todd, anything you want to pull out or highlight from what Dan has shared?
Well, there's a ton I can say, but real quick, let me say that, yeah, these scripts really matter, right? What you say and how you connect is important, but also it's super important to differentiate yourself from the fee sheet, what loan officers that are out there. And I think that, as Dave mentioned, they're all total cost analysis, red belts here, people who've done over 1,000 TCAs. We already heard that Brian did 169 or something crazy like that in the last 30 days. But in the end, even if your scripts aren't the best, but you actually can show them how their loan is different using a total cost analysis, you're going to win way more than others who are using fee sheets. It's one of those things that I found as a loan officer, and it's a requirement for my team even to this day, is to use a total cost analysis, because it's really the best way. However, whatever strategy that you see here or hear here that you adopt that is uniquely for you, any of those are going to be way better than if you're using a fee sheet or some other inferior way to display rate payment cash to close. Dave's mentioned it a couple of times. Really, you're showing them that 5-year cost over time, and that's how you're going to win more conversations. Add on to that the scripts that you're learning here today, and then you're just going to crush it.
So Dan, any last words that you want to share before we bring on our next guest?
Last thing, minute and a half, and I'll shut her down. Deb, you can jump on if you want to role play. I wanted to save the best for last because you had to stay to the end. The 2 questions that I ask right after we connect and we triangle for trust that will get them thinking about the financial importance of this mortgage are these 2 questions. Okay. And I'm not going to necessarily go into my talk track with their feedback, but these are the 2 questions. Deb, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Deb, I'm curious right now, of all the markets that we've been in, timing wise right now, why do you want to buy a house?
Because I've seen the equity gains and I've been renting, and I just feel like with everything that I'm hearing, it's a great investment.
Do you not like renting?
I don't like throwing my money away. So
Okay.
I've heard that, in a couple of years, I could at least be building equity, but I'm scared to death at the same time.
Okay, so stop right there. Everyone listening right there. She just said equity, which is money, building wealth. Number 2, she doesn't like throwing money away. So throwing money away is really important to you. Not throwing money away is really important to you. So I'd have a conversation around that. Okay. And then this is so important. Why do you want to buy a house right now? What is your biggest fear, concern, worry, or anxiety about getting a mortgage or buying a house right now?
But I'm going to overpay for a home that then I'll be upside down.
Okay. Is there anything else that you've heard from water cooler talk at work or from friends or family members that have bought or wish they would have bought or didn't buy?
The commitment of a 30-year commitment when I don't even know what I may do for a job, it seems like it's hard to get out of versus renting. I can just jump.
Okay. Great job, Deb. Guys, in closing, right here with this bat, I just had the pitcher tell me the exact pitch that he's throwing to me, exactly where I want to hit it, so I can crush it out of the yard with those 2 questions. It now has teed up my conversation to have with the client. The financial importance is there. The big one we get up here in Seattle is I just don't think I'm going to be able to buy a house. I got 20% down, but it's so competitive. Cool. Strategy matters. So now I can go into strategy. I can go into financial literacy. You guys, the table has been set to win the initial client meeting with those 2 questions and a mortgage coach TCA.
Boom. Dan Keller is playing a different game than a fee worksheet loan officer. Strategy matters. Dan Keller, you crushed it. Todd, anything you want to share or say before we bring on the one and only mortgage nerd?
Well, I just love that last question. Do you not like renting? I mean, of course, we know everyone hates renting, right? Everyone wants to be able to paint their walls, to have, the colors they want, have their kids run around in their very own backyard. So think about that, right? Ask great questions to your clients, make them think. And ultimately, Dan said it, they're going to give you the script for exactly what you need to know in order to convert them and help them through this opportunity that we call home ownership.
So guys, the next loan officer we're going to bring on, and loan officer isn't the right word, mortgage coach, leader, mortgage nerd. I said from stage years ago that technology is not going to eliminate loan officers and take market from loan officers, but loan officers that use technology, that use media, who are great leaders, will absolutely take market share from those who don't. And I've watched that happen. In 2020, there were about 3,500 loan officers that did over 300 loans. That number has increased by 74% in 2021. And it wasn't like there was more loans done, but there were over 6,300 loan officers that did over 300 loans in 2021. So top producers, people that use technology, media, and leadership are taking market share from those who don't. Denise's team serves 720 families last year for over $200 million, over 205 in Dallas, Texas. And she epitomizes using media, the mortgage nerd, delivering advice, being a great leader. So Denise, what script do you want to share, and why did you pick the script that you want to share?
Well, I'm sandwiched between Dan and Jeremy, which is just not fair, but I'm going to hope to deliver to their standards. And I'm going to be flipping the script a little bit. We've talked a lot about our conversations with the clients, and loan officers have to remember that we have two clients, really. We have our real estate agents, which are clients, and we have the borrower, which is a client. So I'm going to be talking a lot about what I have pivoted from starting at about September of last year to go even harder and deeper with my real estate partners. And we've trickled in some financial advisors and CPAs. So when I say client, I don't just mean that one pillar of real estate agents, but I doubled down last fall with our real estate partners. I'm going to share how I did that, and people can literally follow my same recipe and hopefully gain some more partners.
So guys, I did an interview with Denise a few weeks ago where it was called, Denise Donahue's Realtor Playbook. That is in our YouTube channel. Anyone listening to this, if you don't subscribe to that channel, subscribe today. We had over, I think, 16,500 subscribers, and the goal this year is to get to 20. But I know there's going to be enough loan officers watching SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA that if you all subscribe to the channel, we could get to our goal this month. So go check it out. And if you want to go deeper on what Denise is going to share, and you want to hear a full hour on her Realtor Playbook, check that out. So let's hear your SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA script.
Yeah, thank you. So first, I just want to start with saying that I hope that majority of us that are on this call are already using Mortgage Coach. If you're not, obviously start looking at the YouTube channel and learn how to use it. That's how I learned it. But here is what I find the single biggest mistake with even the black belt Mortgage Coach users do is they don't share it with more than just the borrower. And if you just make that little change in your business process where you share that TCA with more than just the end client, it will literally, you could double your business. And I'm saying that because that 720 families that I helped is just me. I'm the only rainmaker. It's not like a branch. So the first thing that I did is in the September, October time period, I had to get out of my shell. I could surf the wave of these refis. Most of you guys know that I don't actually enjoy being around humans. I am a huge introvert. So behind the camera is super cool for me. If you see me out in the flesh, it's probably not me, and it's my twin sister. But I had to force myself to actually get around people because I knew that with COVID ending here in the DFW area, our real estate agents were thirsting for that human connection. And so the first thing I did is I started hosting little masterminds, and they were private masterminds with my bigger teams to make them feel special. But it was done in a way where I wanted them to feel like this is going to be beneficial to them. It's going to be a mastermind for them. Sneakishly, it was about equipping them with how I want them to change the way that they're doing business, referring business, or their expectations, because this is a market that is different. We've never seen a market like this. It's fast and furious. And the way that they were doing business before this market wasn't going to work anymore. And the way that we were doing business necessarily wasn't going to work anymore because of how fast it was. So a lot of what that meeting entailed were things like, hey, we're going to take longer on that pre-qual and pre-approval process than maybe what you felt a year ago or 2 years ago. And here's why. Because we know that in order to win in this DFW market, we have to guarantee financing. Most of our clients need 0 days financing on our third-party financing approvals. So to do that, we have to feel confident enough to vet your client out. I'm going to have to look at those tax returns if we need them. If they own other rental properties, I'm going to have to do a calculation on that. I'm going to have to look at their bank statements. So when doing that up front, Mr. Realtor, I'm not going to be able to crank out a pre-qual for you same day anymore. Unless you prefer that you shop in this market with this client with a pre-qual letter. Is that what you would prefer? Of course, they all say no, and I make them answer it. Okay, so then we have to change how we work together. This is the championship game. This isn't the, in-season game. So our strategy has to be different. Let's talk through that. What do you need from me as your lending partner? And what do I need from you and the team? Because we all know when we work with the the bigger teams, the team lead typically will do what we need them to do, but it's the newer real estate agents that have joined their team that are kind of a hot mess express. And so this was my way of being like, okay, let's set the stage. 2022 is going to be another crazy year. And that's what we did. We went in with our top teams and we had little mini mastermind sessions. Then for my smaller groups or for the agents that referred either 6 or less clients to us, I opened it up to, instead of it feeling like a private VIP session, it was a one-to-many, because I didn't have the capacity to meet with them one-on-one. And so what I did is I would hold 40 to 60 person training sessions all last quarter. It was practically one every 2 weeks. And I made sure it was grammable. I know that sounds lame, but it's the truth, because if your food is on point and your presentation's on point and everything's on point, then realtors love to brag about it. We know realtors love to brag on social media. So they're bragging about our chicken and waffles with this cool little syrup thing. I know Jeremy would have liked it, but it was cool. It was grammable. And so they're posting about it, which is ultimately getting me in front of a lot more people on social media. Like, my lender doesn't do that. They just bring like donuts and it's super boring. And like Dan mentioned, no charisma. But so I got them in the room and I did the same thing. This game has changed. So because of that, this is what we've had to change in our business to set your buyer up for success and ultimately set you, real estate agent, up for success. Because last time I checked, none of you guys like going out every weekend, weekend after weekend, writing offer after offer and not closing a deal, not making any money. That's no fun. Like, it's not fun. So stop doing that. Let's change it up. We gotta be more strategic than that. In both of those private and big groups, I am always showing at least 2, sometimes 3 example TCAs. And the first one is always my pre-purchase strategy. And I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper because that's my third tip for you guys. But I'm showing them things like, here's our pre-purchase strategy. So kind of like Brian was talking about it, I don't call it a pre-qual or a pre-approval. I actually hate those 2 words. I might say it within my team, but like I would never say those words to an end client or even to a real estate agent. It's a pre-purchase consult when you work with us. To a real estate agent, it's our pre-purchase strategy. But I'm showing them a TCAs of course, things that we've probably all done, the rent versus own, the appraisal gap. And I choose those because those are super sexy to real estate agents. You have to keep in mind, we have seen those a lot because we're mortgage advisors. Our real estate partners have not. They haven't even heard those strategies articulated by words, let alone by really fancy, technology and graphs. So when they see that, they're like, holy smokes, I've never had a lender even talk about that before, let alone be able to present it in a way that a 4-year-old could understand. And that, the content plus the grammable plus the charisma, you're going to pick up buzz and you're going to pick up more real estate partners. So the one-to-many, as far as getting with your real estate agents, whether it's private sessions or the big sessions, huge, and use your TCAs. The next thing is that one of the things that we changed is when we now have a client and we pre-approve or pre-qualify them, every single one of our real estate agents, now we hop on a call with them. So kind of like what Shayla and Brian talked about is we all have those phone calls with the end user, with the borrower, and we're setting up, okay, what's your timeline, expectation, how much money do you have? All of those things that we're doing with the borrower, you have to go over with your real estate agent, because it is mind-blowing to me how many real estate agents don't really understand how complex a mortgage loan is and how they can be super aggressive within the contracts. And so we have to teach them that, meaning short third-party financing or no third-party financing, or option fee checks. And I know every state's a little bit different with their contracts, but you've got to also have that expectations call with your real estate partner. It's like the coach and the quarterback huddling up like, all right, we got 4 seconds. Are we going to go for the 2 points? Or are we going to kick the field goal? Like, you got to huddle up with your QB because they're the ones that are going on the field and going to make it happen. And quite frankly, if I can level up my real estate agents with their negotiating skills or their contract skills or teach them how to be more aggressive, we all win because they close the deal and I close the deal. And so I'm having pre-purchase strategy calls with my real estate partner. And what that looks like is we're going over that client's TCA. And it's my pre-purchase TCA. And my pre-purchase, I think I shared that on the last call, Dave, with you a couple weeks ago, but it's going to show them, here's the target price that your client told me that they wanted when we very first spoke. Let's say it was 600,000. Here's their target price. So mentally, that's where their mind was at. When I ran their numbers, this is their approved price. Their approved price was $100,000 less than what they wanted. Do you think it's important for a real estate agent to know that? Well, most people window shop before they actually talk to a real estate agent. So now they've been looking for the top of the line car with the leather and the sunroof and all that stuff. And we're going to have to bring their price point down. So now what they've been looking at is actually out of reach. So I tell them, here's your target price. Here's what they were actually approved for. And then the third one is, here's the monthly payment that they told me that they wanted. Where does that fit in, again, to their mental psychology of this client that they're about to take shopping? Is this client shopping for a Ferrari on a Honda budget? And are we going to have to, politely smack them around a little bit to get them in check? Do you think your real estate agent needs to know that? A pre-purchase strategy call with your agent. Now, obviously, we've got some agents that we do a ton of deals with. So we've gotten to a point where they're like, yeah, Denise, like, I'm super busy. I don't need you to do the same thing over and over. And so I can now just record it with a video and send the TCA out. And they're like, okay, I got it. This is where their mindset was. This is how much money they have. This is what their monthly payment is. Here's my tips on how to be super aggressive with the contract. And then here's the cherry on top. This is what Dave's helping me, and our friend Shannon's going to help me with too, is now when a client goes online and they apply, I'm capturing 2 additional partners. I'm asking them every single time, do you have a financial advisor? If so, who? What's their name, their phone number, and their email? And do you have a CPA? Full disclosure, I'm still insecure about the CPA conversation, so I'm kind of more attacking the financial advisors because I vibe with them better. I will get there, Dave, I promise. But I'm capturing that information right up front because now guess what I'm doing with that same TCA? I'm sharing it with their financial advisor and CPA. And I'm saying, hey, Dave, we have a mutual client. They're looking to buy their home. I'm sure you know that. This is the strategy session that I just had with them. I wanted to share it with you. By the way, if you have any other clients that are looking to buy and sell in the DFW area, I'd love to help them because if I get a referral from them, now I can refer it to a real estate partner. And I am the quarterback of leads now too, as well as the data. So real estate agents is the annuity of our business. They're the ones that real estate agents, builders, financial advisors, I'm putting those all in the same pillar. Those are our annuity clients. They're the ones that give us more transactions, obviously, than the end client. The end client might buy a home every 7 to 10 years. So I am hardcore going after them because I know other loan officers are tired. They're cranky. They don't have a process in place. So their business is slipping. And I'm going in like a sniper and I'm picking them up one by one. So all these other loan officers that are like, I can't get a deal, there's no inventory. We just got 14 contracts on Monday of buyers getting their offers accepted. So I'm not crying that there's no inventory and we're not getting people accepted. Instead, I'm using it as an opportunity to level up my real estate agents, teach them how to be aggressive, teach them to negotiate. And by the way, I'm saying this, I'm obviously not telling the agent I'm teaching them or leveling them up. Like, you wouldn't use those words with them because it makes you sound above them. And I'm not, I'm their partner. But what I am doing is helping them write better offers, helping that strategy when they do make the offers, because I can't help a client. I can't strategize with a client if we don't have a seller accept their offer. So
So guys,
That's my realtor script for you guys.
love it. So everybody write down, what is your pre-purchase strategy call look like? First of all, does your agent know that you're delivering something beyond anyone else in the market? Do they realize the strategic value that you're bringing? In an interview I did with Ryan Grant, who's going to be our second to last speaker today, he said, you need to have superpowers in this market, and your realtors need to see your cape. Like, they need to know it. You can't keep those superpowers a secret, and clearly you're not doing that. So you're killing it. Todd, anything you want to call out from Denise before we bring on Jay for us?
Well, I'm hearing mindset again, right? Her mindset is, hey, what inventory problem, right? We've got a solution. We're out here crushing it. And as always, Denise adds so much value. And of course, I do love over Denise's shoulder that she's got Mortgage Coach and Win by Noon stickers there. So I threw it in the chat, store.winbynoon.com to get your Mortgage Coach apparel and Win by Noon apparel and stickers as well.
So guys, you will get leads. Like, I was going through the airport the other day and I had on my Mortgage Coach shirt, and someone pulled me over and was like, hey, what are rates? And so, I get in the coffee shop, I got stickers. I get asked questions about rates and loans, and make sure you represent not only for the community that we are, and for the change that we're making. Our mission is that when families get into debt, they make smarter mortgage decisions. And while rate's important, financial freedom is more important. And a mortgage coach can help a family achieve financial freedom faster. So Denise, anything else you want to share before we bring on Jeremy?
I just can't stress it enough. Do not keep your TCAs a secret. Like, you guys know, if you follow me on social media, I'm constantly posting my TCA stuff on social media. Plug and Play forces me to. But I'm posting it on there. Dave, the video that you guys did last Friday with Dan with the interest rates, I literally swiped and adapt. I did a reel on that, and then I posted it to my YouTube channel yesterday. So don't keep your TCAs a secret. Share them on social, share them with your partners, because it's not just your borrower that can benefit from that. You can make a bigger impact in this world than keeping it with just your borrower. Share it to the masses.
Love that. And again, who asked TCA? Total cost analysis. Subscribe to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. If you should be watching one Mortgage Coach interview a week. For you new loan officers, you might want to up the ante on that a little bit more. Anyways, Denise, you crushed it. I'm grateful for you. Let's bring on our next guest. Actually, before we bring on our next guest, first of all, Jeremy, are you here? Let's make sure you're here.
I see him. He's here.
All right. Jeremy, say something so we know you're here.
Hi.
All right. We do want to make sure everybody knows about we're launching the Modern Mortgage Summit today. So this is the first day you've been able to get tickets to that. If you go to modernmortgagesummit.com. Todd, could you share your screen real quick and just show them the link to that? We'll put a link down below.
It's crazy to think that we're going to be doing this again, Dave, huh?
It is. I can't wait.
So yeah, up on May 25th. So we're giving you guys plenty of time to register for actually 2 events in one day. We're going to be doing the Modern Mortgage Summit in the morning. We're going to do the Modern Real Estate Summit in the afternoon. So it's a great opportunity for all of you. You've got plenty of time. You just heard Denise talking about creating contacts and a reason for calling real estate agents and events. And so the Modern Real Estate Summit is your opportunity for that. And just like we had before, when you scroll on down here, you'll see that we're going to do a top producer pass where you can get 25 passes for your realtors for $1,000, or an influencer pass, or if you're a branch manager, you can get 100 passes for $2,500, so that you can actually have interaction with your real estate agents. And then really, more importantly, great content. We're going to have some of the top real estate agents in the country again. And that'll be piggybacked after we have, as always, the best of the best in the loan business. We just confirmed Shant Manogian, the #1 loan officer in America, who closed $2 billion worth of mortgages last year, as one of our Modern Mortgage Summit speakers. And we're just excited that you all want it back again.
Right on. So guys, you go ahead and stop sharing, Todd. All the links will be in the taking action note. So you'll have the transcript, the top takeaways, the links to the total cost analysis, so you can call it learn how to be a modern mortgage advisor, learn how to be a mortgage coach, and then some of the call to actions that we've given you. So let's bring on Jeremy Forcier. You know, I think he's kind of a legend in the mortgage coach community. He consistently closes over $200 million a year in volume. This year it was $214 million. He's helped over 420 families with a mortgage in 2021. But most importantly of all, for many years, every family that does business with him, they get more than a rate quote. He's not a fee worksheet loan officer. He's a mortgage coach, loan officer. Jeremy, welcome to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, my brother.
Thanks for having me. Super appreciate it, man.
Yeah, so I asked you for a script and you gave me like, I don't know if it was 10 or 12. And so I said, you can have one, maybe two, whatever you could fit in 2 minutes. And then I know this Friday, we're going to have you back and we're going to go through all your hot scripts for this market. But what is the script that you want to do today and why?
Yeah, so script today is around a word, and the word is indecision. And all indecision means is the inability to make a decision quickly, right? And whenever we talk about scripts or creating scripts, I just look at it as to like what conversations are happening a lot, and then how do you respond to them? And that's how you create like what you say and how you formulate it. So something that's been coming up a lot is indecision. Indecision with people that you've had pre-approved for 6 months or 12 months that haven't bought yet. Indecision on people that don't know which interest rate to choose on a cash out refinance because they keep changing and going up, and not pulling the trigger, wondering if that's the best you can do or is that the best that they can get. Indecision on realtors, not feeling comfortable sometimes if they don't work with you a lot on to waive appraisal and loan contingency. And so there's all this indecision, and the script really that I've used a lot lately and I will continue to use is, don't let your indecision keep you from making a good decision. Okay, don't let your indecision keep you from making a good decision. And I must have said that 100 times in the last 2 weeks, right? In all different types of scenarios. And when you say something like that, you have a statement like that. So the quote unquote, the script, right? What always ends up happening is people will ask you, well, what do you mean by that? Right? And that's always what we all want as salespeople and as people that are trying to move things along in the pipeline, is you want them to ask you, what do you mean by that? So I'll give you a great example. Okay. Andrea Rodriguez is a great client of mine for 10 plus years. And oftentimes she's indecisive always, by the way. It's not even just right now. She's just an indecisive person. Okay. And oftentimes she will miss great opportunities, right? And this is where the script originated from. Was having a conversation with her, started a loan application process back in December, never really got around to finishing it. We kept following up with her. Then we finish it. We give her some ideas and quotes about cash out refi, buy an investment property in Arizona. And then another, 3 weeks goes by before she responds to the mortgage coach total cost analysis. And then I have to tell her, hey, we have to redo it. The numbers are all different, of course. And she just can't. She's like, I don't know if we should do this. What should we do? We really want to remodel our house. We want to buy this investment property. It seems like this doesn't make sense. Can we look at our owner occupied house instead? We look at the owner occupied house. She comes back and says, gosh, is this really the best that we can do right now? Right. And that's where I responded with, hey, don't let your indecisiveness, your indecision stop you from making a good decision. Right now, if it were me, what I would do is absolutely do the owner occupied one. I wouldn't worry about your purchase of this next investment property. Your number one focus is remodeling your home that you're going to live in for the next 20 years, per what she said. And let's just go from there and make a good decision now. That doesn't mean that you can't make another good decision down the road, right? So when we're talking to people and about rates and things like that, let's make the best decision quickly right now and take a profit. Okay, Dave taught me that one, take a profit. That doesn't mean that you can't take a profit or benefit again in the future. Rates go down, you refinance, market changes. Now you have the cash in hand where you can take advantage of buying the investment property that makes sense from a cash flow standpoint. So I think that indecision is everywhere. And that script has been a game changer for me as far as moving people along to make them realize that they're their own worst enemy. And when you don't work inside a vacuum like our industry, things change literally every single day. So we can't have people just floating out in the wind, not making a decision to make the offer, to release the finance contingencies if you say it's okay. They need to make decisions quicker so that they can benefit themselves. And it's our job to kind of save them from themselves. So that's the script I've been using a ton. I find huge value in it. And you're always going to get this question back is, what do you mean by that? And that's where we get to really show our expertise and lead people towards making a good decision.
That is so huge, Jeremy. I love the fact that you take everyday examples from what your clients are struggling with and the conversations you have, and then you turn it into a gift for our community, teaching us all a different way to have a conversation that will turn into what you just said, a profit.
Yeah, it's great. So I think that, that people have a lot on their plate right now these days, right? Between war, economy, interest rates. The other one that happens a lot right now for me is, and maybe you all can relate to this, is that I either feel that my leads right now are uber super qualified, or they are so panicked that they're never going to be able to buy. And this is it. This is their last chance. And they're going to get in and stretch themselves to, the end of earth to make it happen right now. And I think that that is not a good place to be either, right? So you don't want people to make a decision quickly based on fear, ever, right? You don't want them to make a quick decision based on fear. So I think it's really important, and we have a responsibility to lead people and help them get out of their own way, whether that means waiting to buy right now, or whether that means you got to move on this right now because it makes sense to do.
Yeah, I think that's fear is one of those things that if we all do a great job in those conversations that we can put aside. So, all right. So what's script number 2, Jeremy, that you want to enlighten us all with?
Oh, I'm allowed to do more? I thought I had to pick one, and you said I had 2 minutes, not 10. So
well, I think he meant 10 minutes. We just all heard it as 2 minutes.
Well, no problem. Well, rather than go into another script, because I have a ton of them that I wrote down, as Dave said. And by the way, my first response to Dave always was, well, just tell me what you want to talk about, because I don't really document scripts. Okay. And so Dave helped me, because all I did was go back and go, here's 7 conversations that I've had this week. And I documented them all in the scripts, right? And so now I have a new folder. So thank you, Dave, for helping me document more. Rather than go into more scripts, since on Friday I'm going to be going deep into that stuff, I'd rather give you guys a couple different scenarios on where you can insert yourself into this script of indecision. Okay. So another one was Mr. Mayor, okay, who went into contract yesterday. But last week he was so panicked about an indecision of what interest rates are doing. He's purchasing a home. Okay. And I've probably done, I don't know, 4 or 5 different total cost analysis for this gentleman. And he wants to lock in so bad before he's in contract, right? And having that talk over and over again. And finally, we had the Come to Jesus Mortgage Coach TCA talk, where I said, once again, like, hey, don't make something based on fear. Write the offer, because he didn't want to write the offer until he knew what his interest rate's going to be, right? Is that possible? No, it is not possible at all. Right. So first part was, hey, don't let your indecision, Mr. Mayor, and his name's Dan, I call him Dan. Hey, Dan, don't let your indecision stop you from making a good decision. Do you like the house? Does it fit all your check boxes? Can you afford the monthly payment? Yes, 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 yes. Right. Awesome. Write the offer. Now, when we get into contract, which we are, let's not also make the mistake of being indecisive again about what interest rate and product to choose. Right? Let's not let that get in the way of you making a good decision now. So for example, and I'll give you a copy of this TCA, right? I wouldn't pay an extra 3 points in fee, right, to get an interest rate that's only 0.5% less than what you can get without paying those fees, right? You said that you're going to pay down this loan balance significantly in the next 3 years. You can do a recast loan at that time. Right? You don't need to refinance. It will lower your monthly payments, et cetera. And you'll have the ability to accomplish that and not waste a bunch of money up front, knowing you're going to pay it down and change your payments in the future. Now, number 2 is that I wouldn't pay the fees right now either, because if interest rates do drop, which they may, right, very, very soon in the next couple of years, you can always redo this loan at no to little cost and not have to spend all of that money up front. He agreed with me on all of the talking points. We were able to get into contract without financing contingencies. And now he's going to go with the much higher rate, right, without paying the fees because of that script around indecision, right? And not allowing you, don't let it stop you from making a good decision.
So brother, I am looking forward to a full hour of J4 scripts this Friday. Anyone listen to this, guys, we are dedicated to your success at Mortgage Coach. So I'm gonna show you what some other loan officers have to say about Mortgage Coach, how to get signed up for Mortgage Coach. But I wanna make sure you guys know how to learn, because taking action is everything. So at Mortgage Coach, we have what we call Mortgage Coach University. And that's pretty much anything on our website. You know, it's curated content, it's how-tos, it's on-demand training. When we think of social media, we think of that's like Mortgage Coach in the real world. You know, that's me interviewing top producers. That's what's happening there. But go to Mortgage Coach, and you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner where there's resources that we have training. We have on-demand training. So this is literally 24/7 a day. Suzanne, our director of e-learning, has created very linear, short videos. If you're a white belt, how to go from white belt to orange belt. We have daily training. On Mondays, we train beginners. On Tuesdays, I interview folks. Fridays, we have Productivity Mastermind. These are some of the all-time best interviews on specific topics with a link to an actual total cost analysis. So for all you branch managers that are training your loan officers, trying to institutionalize advice with Mortgage Coach, I want to make sure you're very familiar with, call it the Mortgage Coach University content, and then our YouTube channel and our Facebook. That is Mortgage Coach in the real world. I want to play a little video that's a montage of Jeremy and some other loan officers around why they love Mortgage Coach, and then we'll bring on our next guest.
Mortgage Coach for me gives me a professional presentation that is the same every time, that speaks to every single client.
The most simplistic technology that I can use quickly and efficiently and effectively for my clients to understand a very difficult financial message.
It's the most important piece of software that we use, and we've got a pretty good technology stack. But if I had just one piece, it would have to be Mortgage Coach.
Ability for someone to look and learn through their eyes with colors and charts. Video that can connect on a human level so that you can educate and show people exactly how this is going to benefit them and what the value is to them. And then of course, it has bottom line numbers on it as well.
And it's sometimes that message can be very overwhelming. It can be confusing, and Mortgage Coach allows it to be delivered very simple.
It allows me to have a conversation with somebody at a much deeper level than 90% of the competition.
I really think that it just always comes back to education. I think that it allows you to truly educate a client.
And I want to be able to deliver that in a very easy way where they can feel good about the decision they're making.
The TCA, the total cost analysis, allows you to create an experience for a client that puts you on par with the Ubers and the Delta apps and the rest of the way that people want to actually digest content.
Is one of those special things in our business that allows us to truly educate and show the bigger picture.
Comparisons of 15-year versus 30-year, the comparison of, hey, what if we prepaid our principal by an extra $200 a month, and the clarity that that provides to the consumer, second to none.
And so for me, when it comes to a return on investment, what Mortgage Coach and the total cost analysis do, number one, they help my conversion.
If I can take my conversion ratio, increase it by 30%, it's a no-brainer.
So that's why Mortgage Coach is the number one piece of technology for me and my team.
I mean, it's just one of these secrets. Don't tell anybody. No, tell everybody, because it is really what our community deserves.
So guys, if you are not a Mortgage Coach today, we are putting a link down below. It's mortgagecoach.com/scripts2022. Anyone that signs up today, we're going to have a special fast track training with Mortgage Coach that I'll be on myself this Friday. I'll also invite some of the speakers to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, and I'm sure we'll have at least a couple of them. So if you wanna be part of that fast track your success with Mortgage Coach, get signed up today if you're not already there, and you'll get a coaching session with me and a few top producers, and Suzanne, our director of e-learning. So there's a link down below, and also some folks that asked for training. Suzanne is active in chat, so if you have any questions, we don't want to do tech support in chat, but if you just want some breadcrumbs to some resources or content, put that down below. If you need support, you can email support@mortgagecoach.com. You can chat with us online, and we have phone support too. You know, how many technology companies will do phone support in today's world? Mortgage Coach will. So Todd, anything you want to say before we bring on our next guest?
You know, I said it before, I feel like if you truly want to be a modern mortgage advisor, if you truly want to provide truly the best advice to your clients, you've got to be using Mortgage Coach, because there's no other tool out there that will help you show them not just rate, payment down to close, not a fee worksheet, but really show them the cost over time. And in the end, that's how you overcome that rate objection that you get all the time, because you're showing them all of the rates. You heard Shayla walk through it where she said, hey, I can show them all these different websites. And in the end, the tool that you have to actually give that value to your client is the total cost analysis. And that's part of it's like the secret sauce for all of these super achievers that you're seeing here on this call today.
So guys, this next guest, I am super excited to have on SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA for the very first time. I met Gina Myers just a couple months ago. I interviewed her for the first time on how she is winning with rate shoppers. There's a lot of things that make Gina special, but in the Mortgage Coach community, she wasn't using Mortgage Coach in 2020. You know, she started using it somewhere in I think the spring, maybe it was February or March in 2021. Her and her team became a red belt. Like they did 1,000 total cost analysis in 1 year and went from white belt to red belt in a single year. And I think that's special. Gina and her team helped over 340 families last year. That equaled $188 million in volume. So super professional, super successful, and new to the Mortgage Coach community. Welcome to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, Gina.
Thank you so much. Wow, what an honor to be here among these other panelists. I was super impressed and yeah, honored to join you guys today.
Right on, Gina. So, you know, I told you, you said, Dave, what script do you want me to do? And I'm like, well, Gina, what script do you want to do? And why don't you tell us what script you want to do and tell us why you picked it?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, before I get into that, I mean, you asked me about SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA and I thought, well, I don't really write down any scripts. And so I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Over the years, you start to have conversations with clients or video calls, and you hear that aha moment, or you get that comment of, yeah, Gina, that makes so much sense. So I subconsciously started using those scripts during my conversations. Okay, so right now, we're in this moment in time where there's more pre-approved buyers than ever. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate. The national average of offers to contracts is somewhere around like 15 to 1. So we're in a much different situation than we were last year with refinance options, cash out options, you know, making sure the cash flow for the person was beneficial, or saving them money, or paying off debt. The conversation now, while that is very important, is more about how do we help you win? You know, how do we help you get to that point where you win that house and you also feel very comfortable doing that? So I tend to lean into the pain point right now, which is, you know, helping people win that house at it with a successful team, the real estate agent, the lender, et cetera. So ultimately, and I know Hunter Marquardt is on this call, and I learned this from him, but what I truly believe to my core is that people will be more successful by working with me than working with anyone else. So that's where a lot of my scripts come from as well, because they really, I really focus on helping people feel a certain way, feel comfortable, feel confident, have clarity, right? All those things that a lot of people on these calls have been discussing already. So before we get into that, real quickly though, just some background, you know, sales can have a negative connotation, just like a used car sales guy. But it's not to say that that used car salesman is a bad person. It's just that they're not selling to the person the way that they want to be sold to, or the way that they want to feel when they buy something. Just like when they buy, you know, a car, a purse, or a service, or an experience, when they walk away from that experience, service, or purchase, it's all about how did they feel when they did that, and was it a positive one, or was it kind of slimy and not so great? And so ultimately, how do we lean into that? People will make decisions based on their head, their heart, and their gut. And this is why I think Mortgage Coach has really helped me so much grow my business this past year, because it checks all those boxes. And remember, a lot of times we're helping people that have a spouse or another person that's going to be making the decision. And oftentimes they have different personalities. So how do we talk to both of those people? Well, let's just say, okay, the head, the person that's the thinker, the overthinker, they do a lot of research. They want to see all the data. Well, in Mortgage Coach, they can, right? So we show them the summary page, but I always say, look, behind this summary is all the fee detail. Everything you want to see is right there in front of you. And so it really checks the box with that person, because I can see that person going in and out of the summary. I can see them asking me questions about the fee detail. It really checks that box for that specific person who's the overthinker. The heart. Okay, so this is where this person really likes pictures, stories. They want to be a part of the experience. And this is where I think the video that goes along with the TCA also lends itself to be very helpful. When I put on a video, I'm talking to that person directly. I'm addressing their concern. I might be telling another story or painting a picture, or, you know, like I said, addressing a concern they had in our initial phone call. And they can go back and rewatch that, and they want to feel a certain way, and they want to be a part of the story. And then, of course, we have the gut. Okay, so this type of person, well, first of all, a lot of us like to make decisions with our gut, because we want to feel like, yeah, we trust our instinct and we know to make the right decision. And that person likes to have 2, maybe 3 options, because it makes them feel like they have enough decision and that they made the right one. They have a few options and they can pick one. The last piece is just also knowing your audience. If anyone has done any DISC personality profile training, you know that there's that S in DISC, and that person is the person who's steady. They want a sense of belonging. They want to be led. They don't want to be the boss. They want to be the follower. They want you to advise them. So I really feel like Mortgage Coach has lent itself to that. So before I get in, well, now I'll get into the scripting and the role playing. Okay, so really for me, and where I've heard the most aha moments is more of like painting the picture for them, a fear-based close, I guess you could call it, right? It's scary out there. There's so many people trying to buy houses right now. How do we help them? And so one of the stories I will tell the person is, okay, so let me ask you, how often do you tend to, look at your phone and you find, go to one of the online apps and you see a home that you really like? Oh my gosh, this checks all the boxes. I love that kitchen. Look at the fenced in backyard, perfect for my dog. Oh my, it even has a 2-car garage. My husband's going to be thrilled. Okay, I'm going to like this. I'm going to send it to him. And then you go about your day and you come back to it and you go up, pull it up again because you really want to see what that master bath looked like. And all of a sudden it's under contract. And I asked the person, have you experienced that before? Is that something you're familiar with? And oftentimes they're like, yeah, that's the worst. So I know, okay, yes, this is definitely a pain point for them. And I lean into that. And I say, look, the person that was able to, see that house and make an offer right away, they were prepared. And being prepared is certainly doable. We can help you. That's what we're going to help you move forward with. So here's how you do that. And I talk about obviously getting pre-approved, talking through the loan options, giving them side-by-side analysis, making sure they feel comfortable. The concept is I want you, Mr. and Mrs. Client, to feel so prepared that when that house comes on the market, you're going to see it right away, or you're seeing it unseen and you're making an offer right away. Because ultimately, let's face it, one of the first few offers in has the best chance of winning. So I paint that picture for them. And many people have felt that, whether you're buying a house or not. Oftentimes you look at properties for sale and you're like, oh, I really like that house. And it's under contract and you feel like you missed out. So I definitely lean into that part of the fear for my clients.
Well, you are bringing the heat. We're getting so much valuable feedback, Gina. Loving every minute of it. Todd, anything you want to ask Gina or you want to call out from what she said so far?
Well, I mean, I think Gina's just proof that that we have so many great members of our community. And I mean, as you kind of identify their fear, you talked about DISC and kind of understanding people and connecting with them. I mean, what do you feel that most loan officers miss?
Well, I think sometimes, you might give too many options, or you might let them make the option, and so what I appreciate is being able to give just a few. I oftentimes I'm like, should I send multiple TCAs? And it's like, no, Gina, you know what to do. Give them the ones that speak to what's most important to them. Do they keep saying rate? Do they keep saying the monthly payment? Do they keep saying the cash to close? And those are the ones that I focus on so that they, can make a decision. But I think sometimes loan officers talk too much about maybe themselves or what they can, what's so great about them versus let me just dive into your pain point and address it right away. You know what I mean? Versus just, hey, here's me. I can help you win. I'm the best. I'm the best. I don't really care.
Yeah, I love that point you made. And tell me what your thoughts on this are. I think our product is a loan officer. I mean, it is us. It is our vibe, our energy, how we show up. It is our rates and fees. Now, I make the case that package those rates and fees in a way that is actually valuable to the consumer. It's not just a quote. But to your point, like, don't tell how great you are. Show how great you are by asking great questions and then showing them value from the questions. Like, that is how you prove how valuable you are. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it goes on to, a lot of people on this call have said it so many times, right? Once the consumer has clarity, they have confidence, and that keeps them moving forward. And it's not, when we lock in a rate, sure, is that a win? But no, my goal every time I have a conversation or review the mortgage coach with them, or have a conversation, I want them to move forward. I keep wanting to make a next step, because ultimately that's what our realtor partners are looking for. And that's how we really can help these clients, just how Jeremy said. I mean, people are indecisive, they're feeling paralyzed to a point. And is our job, I feel like, as advisors, to keep them moving forward, to get that confidence, that clarity, to allow them to go out and buy a home and make a great financial decision.
So Jeremy Forcier is on the call and he's on video. And I remember when I interviewed you for the first time and you'd become a grandmaster in a single year. And I was like, why did you start? Why weren't you using Mortgage Coach before? And now you are, and you're like, oh, Jeremy is my coach, and you had other people. Jeremy, knowing that you've coached Gina in the past and you were a big part of her becoming a mortgage coach, anything you want to call out from what she said or any questions you want to ask her?
Yeah, so how long was your up ramp to learning how to use it? And it must have been fast because you killed 1,000 TCAs in a year.
Well, I had you to give me that, play by play. So I hopped on a call with Jeremy. He told me how to do it real quickly. And then as I told you guys before, I showed my team. And as I mentioned in the past, that's a great way that I use build relationship with my team members and the client, because I've already had that conversation with them. So I allow them to do the TCA and to have that face-to-face, so to speak, with the video call. So Jeremy, that's why I was able to ramp up so quickly, because I had 3 other people doing them as well.
So last comment about Gina. So Gina is already better than me in a lot of ways. And one of the takeaways I had from her was that, like, I've never taught my team how to do it. I know it's embarrassing to say. I've literally done every single one still to this day. And to see that someone can do 1,000 of them in their first year and train other people how to do it for them is my biggest takeaway. So you have to know how to use it, but getting other people to use it with you, for you as well, is critical. And that's my biggest takeaway. I so appreciate you sharing that, G.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeremy. And make note, guys, she's putting a video on it. Again, you're a local referral-based mortgage professional. We talked about doing what Amazon and Zillow can't do and can do. And putting that video, no online big bank lender is going to give this dynamic link where they ask you your hopes and dreams. They gave you advice and value beyond the transaction, and they made a personal video with a local mortgage pro. So guys, if you want to make this decade better than the last decade, build a habit like that. Todd, anything you want to call out from Gina before we bring on our next guest?
Well, it's really to pile on kind of what Jeremy just said. Jeremy, we sat there and we watched him when we did the site visit with Jeremy. I mean, he is so fast at doing a TCA because he does them all himself. And I think that overcomes the objection of people that they're really hard to do. So I love the fact that the chat in Zoom is blowing up with people asking questions about getting support and jumping on the video. So I would make sure and encourage you all, I mean, learn it, right? Especially if you're investing in it, learn it. You can be super fast in a super short amount of time. And that's, you know, I didn't tell my boring story about the fact that my first day in the mortgage business 22 plus years ago, I bought Mortgage Coach. And really in the end, it was the game changer that made me a great loan officer, you know, made me a great referral source for my realtor partners, and, you know, I guess I could say a lot of money. And so in the end, it's what a great resource. And, you know, Gina, you just knocked it out and you showed us that you can do a ton of TCAs in 1 year by getting good at it yourself and then getting crystal clear and making sure that your team knows how to use it as well.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Right now, we're using a lot of low appraisal concerns, addressing a side-by-side analysis. So that's been a huge help because it's super clear and they can see where they were when they locked in and then what their options are based on the appraised value. So that's been a big, big help.
And remember, guys, we're going to put a link, at least one link from each of these speakers to their total cost analysis in the taking action notes. So stay tuned for those. We'll have probably some of that in within the end of the day, and then all the notes will be filled out from our e-learning expert by the end of the week. So I've had a lot of questions when we originally said, hey, let's do this fast track training this Friday. It was for people that were new and signed up. So I do want to let people know, but so many people in chat have said, hey, I want to come to that. We will put a link. So Robert, you know, give a sign up link to anyone that wants to come to it. But I do want to, you know, anyone that is a black belt or a red belt, you might get an idea, you might get a hack and a new idea, but it's designed to be, hey, you're new to Mortgage Coach, how to go from white belt to orange belt in a week. Like that is what we're going to teach and train on. But anybody who wants to come to that, we'll put a link in chat and you can come to that. So our next speaker is someone that to me defines leadership in the mortgage industry. To say he's a top performer would be understating it. 292 million in production last year, served 355 families. And then one of the things, you know, I've known Hunter for years. I knew Hunter before he was a mortgage coach. I know Hunter now that he is a mortgage coach, but every Sunday he does these Sunday thoughts. I mean, maybe not every single Sunday, but it seems like 90% of the time he does it. And I was lucky enough to get those Sunday thoughts. And it's just leadership. You know, it started off as something that he did with his internal team. It kind of grew to people that knew Hunter as a coach. And now I don't know how many people get Hunter's Sunday thoughts, but I think it's over 1,000. Let's welcome Hunter Marquardt.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me on this. And Gina, great job. I thought you were going to steal my thunder, but I'm also glad that you remember something that I said. So it's good to be here and see. Every time I see Jeremy Forcier's face, I smile. I just can't help it. So I wanted to talk today about Dave, what you titled it, which was not my doing, but the perfect initial call for every lead. I think that's actually the best title. I call this thing internally for my own team. It's called LP2 Notes. And I'll share my screen in a second so everybody can see. And then I'll share, obviously, the Mortgage Coach team will have what I put down on paper so everyone can take it. But, you know, I think to Gina's point, and something that I literally talk about every single day, I talk about it to my business partners and I talk about it to my clients, which is every conversation starts with, I need you to believe, like for a business partner, a realtor, it is, I need you to believe that you will be more successful with me as your lender, or we shouldn't work together. And I say it to people that don't work with me. I would say, you know, my general premise is, I need you to believe that you'll be more successful with me as your lender, or you shouldn't work with me. But I would also ask you to look at your existing lender and see if they have that same mindset. And then the second thing for a client is on the initial call every single time, it is, I mean, if it's Jeremy, I need you to believe as a homeowner that you have a better chance of owning a home with me as your lender, or we shouldn't work together. But as you interview other lenders, I would ask you to consider whether or not they have that same mindset. So that goes to the you know, there's to me, there's perceived value and then there's real value. And Gina brought up like the used salesperson. I think where salespeople have such a bad reputation is that they sell something, but then they don't execute on it, right? So it's a question of being able to, you have to, I mean, for all of us listening to this right now, you have to create a perception of reality or a perception of value, of usefulness. That's what gets you in the door. And then you actually have to execute on it. So the way that I look at it for me personally, and you know, everybody on this call, some people are brand new, some people have big teams. If you have a team, I need to sell the value. My team needs to execute on the value. If you're an individual producer, you need to create and execute on the value. And it's just super important. So, so what I wanted to talk about then is this thing called LP2 notes, which is, it literally started as an accident. My team, like all salespeople, my team hated me because I would have communication with a client and then I would, of course, forget to take notes. I would write down half the information and then all of a sudden my team would get the file and it would be a disaster. So what we did is we created about 5 or 6 years ago what are called LP2 notes. And this was just an internal document that I used to, and I'll go ahead and share this right now. Let's see here. You see that, Dave? Everyone good? No?
Not yet, but it's coming up now. We see it.
See it now.
Perfect. So this is super. This is now in my CRM. This is what it looked like a couple of years ago when we were just doing it. When we were just doing it by email, I just use it as a template. But that's what, you know. So skip the CRM stuff. Everyone can use these same questions. But this was an internal document that every single time my team and I discussed, like if I was going to have the most impactful conversation I could with every single lead, what would that look like? And I want to walk. So what I did here is these are the questions, but then I also gave I gave kind of a template of what an answer form could look like, because part of the point I want to make to everybody, it's not just this document that matters, it's how you write the document. And I'll explain it a little bit as I go through this. So basically what happened is every conversation that I have, every single lead, I talk to every lead. I'm in a jumbo market. I don't think it matters. I think any of us right now, I mean, you know, Shayla talked about it earlier. It's like we were order takers like the last 12 to 18 months. Right now, we are salespeople and we better do a job on converting our own leads. So to rely on someone on your team to convert the lead, to me, doesn't make sense. For me in the market that I'm in, I want to have the opportunity to convert every lead. To me, it is one of the, when I talk to my business partners about me helping them be more successful than any other lender, it has to do with me communicating first with the opportunities that they provide me. So these are what the LP2 notes look like. And when you see it, like client name, obviously referral source, how do they know the referral and are they shopping our business partner? I like to talk to my business partners when they see these notes and explain to them, hey, you guys, like when I'm talking to your client, I want to know, how did you meet, right? Like when I'm talking to someone brand new, I'll just role play. Well, Jeremy doesn't have to role play with me, but if Jeremy's my business, sorry guys, if Jeremy's
I'll role
my
play
client,
with you, buddy.
I'm okay. I think I'm okay, Jeremy, but just in case, if Jeremy's my client, I would say to Jeremy, how did you meet Dave?
Yeah, I met him through industry, actually. Yeah, he just was a speaker and I was really impressed by him and pursued him and became a good friend.
That's awesome. So you know how good he is at his job?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. So knowing that, what did he tell you about me before I get started?
Yeah, he said that you were super funny, super humble, but that you're just a killer in the business and that there's no one else that I should talk to except for you.
Sweet. Okay. So everybody listening, like that's about as good as it can get. There's other times where I'll say that same thing and it is, you know, it turns, well, Jeremy, let's do a bad one. So Jeremy, what did Dave tell you about me?
I mean, he just said that you do loans and, you know, I'm already pre-approved, you know, but for some reason he wanted me to talk to you and here I am.
Okay, perfect. So everybody listening again, like this, the point of these notes, it helps you understand where you fit. It, like in that single thing, I get to understand, how is Dave referring me, right? How committed is the buyer to Dave? How committed is the buyer to me based on what Dave said? Just a huge help. And when my business partners understand that I'm asking these questions, they're more conscious of how they're referring me. So personality type, Again, I'm not looking for a disc profile. I'm helping them understand, it's a school teacher. They want a lot of information. They want details, or it's an engineer. They want quick numbers and be short with them. I'll put those types of notes in there. First time home buyer. These are self-explanatory. Range of purchase price and down payment.
Hey, Hunter.
Yeah.
Hunter, real quick.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you've shared your screen long enough. Everybody hopefully has got a screenshot of that. And if they haven't, they can. So if you share something different, show it. But this conversation you're having with Jeremy is just pure gold. And I want them to see your face, Jeremy's face. So
Cool.
Keep it going, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, Hunter, can I add something, buddy?
Yeah.
So I copied Hunter. I used this. He taught me this to me about a year ago. Okay. And what I think is that, are they shopping the business partner is like the most important question on there, because we don't ask that, and we certainly don't usually tell our realtors right away. So like, let's just do an example real quick. You asked me how I met you, and if I said, oh, I met Dave on Zillow, I clicked on the link and that's how I got hooked up with them. I've talked to a bunch of different realtors. Like, what would you do with that note, and how do you send that to the referral source?
So as far as the actual document,
yeah.
So, obviously I would ask, I would put on there, and this is where you'll see, I filled it out because that's how important it is. It's not just what you're writing. It's not just what these questions are. It's how you respond to the business partner. So what I'll do is I will take this document, and this is how everything happened. This was an internal document. I was in a hurry one day, and I just forwarded it to a great business partner of mine that I knew wasn't going to judge me, because it's obviously very just bullets. And she responded, Amy in Alameda, and she responded with, Hunter, this is the best document I've ever seen for an initial call. So I started just forwarding that to more and more business partners. Now, literally, and my point in this whole talk is, every single time I talk to a lead, I save this for my own internal team, but I also forward it to the business partners. So if you think about it, if Jeremy is just forwarding a loan app or a text or saying, hey, here's the loan app, fill it out, and I'll call you when you're pre-approved, and I'm having this kind of a conversation every single time with the potential, with the clients, and then we start talking about how do my business partners believe that I'm going to help them be more successful, and you're comparing me and my conversation with a client to just forwarding a loan application, sending an online loan app. It's a game changer. And I can just tell through, based on every single one of my coaching students uses them now. The responses that you get when you forward this document with all of the intel, it's been an absolute game changer for me. It's funny that something that could just start off as an accident could turn into something so impactful.
So Hunter, first of all, that exchange between Jeremy and you was awesome. I'm sure every loan officer, you've had both sides of that scale, and you've had everything in between. So I thought that was great scripting, Jeremy, on your part. Obviously, you've heard both of those many a times, or all of those many a times. Where do you bring Mortgage Coach, the TCA, into the notes, and how does that play? And for the person who just asked for the notes, it will be a screenshot in this video, and then we'll figure out how to integrate that into the taking action notes, so you can get, we want this to be a resource that every branch manager, every loan officer that leads other loan officers, whether they're super experienced or whether they're new, you're going to have these taking action notes, and you're going to have the link to the recording of this entire call, and you're going to have a link to the past SCRIPT-a-PALOOZAs. Last year's SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA was amazing also. But Hunter, how would you answer that? How do you integrate TCA into that?
So, and Dave, just to comment on a couple of questions, because they're actually really relevant questions. So when I forward these to my business partners, I do say on income internal, and that's it. So someone asked about that. So yeah, I don't share that with the business partners necessarily. Some of them I might, depends on the client. So Dave, that my team is I'm like the opposite of Jeremy. My team's in Mortgage Coach TCA. So I have this initial conversation, and then I'm out for the most part. My team goes through. So once I gather all this documentation, then we go through, we put together the pre-approval, we have the pre-approval call, and we follow up with the TCA to go through the different scenarios that they wanted us to look at. So our TCA comes in the middle. I will say this though, and listening to Gina, one of our biggest issues right now in the Bay Area is the lower appraisals. So I wrote it down. I will be implementing that because it's such a massive issue. I think it's probably a massive issue around the country. So I'm going to start using TCAs for the appraisal scenarios because right now we're talking to clients about, hey, here's what's going to happen if it comes in 10% down, 5% under, 2% under, and to put that into a TCA is just a no-brainer.
Yeah, I did an interview it was last week. It was called the All-in-One Pre-Approval, where one of the loan officers is column A is what they applied for. Column B was the maximum they're approved for, or that they could qualify for. And column C wasn't a potential appraisal gap because she's in Dallas, Texas, and she's like, everybody is concerned about that. And so literally that was just part of the pre-approval. So we're seeing that a lot around the country. And remember, guys, we'll put links to all of the training down below. Yeah, it was Gracie Moreau's all-in-one pre-approval. We'll even put a link to that video because I think it's super on point. She was also doing for all her move-up buyers, she was doing a move-up for all of her refinances. So she did a lot of really cool things. Hunter, you might want to have your team watch that.
For sure.
Also, it kind of shined a light. Like Jeremy creates all his own TCAs and he delivers that. Like that's all Jeremy does. And he has team around everything else. Gina has her people create the TCA, but she delivers it and does the video. And then Hunter does the discovery, does the advice, and then hands off to team. So I've got a playlist of, dozens, over 20 different red belt mortgage coaches. It's called How Their Name Uses Mortgage Coach. So if you ever want to know how a mortgage coach, I want to know how Jeremy does it. I want to know how Keith Collins does it. I don't have one with Hunter yet, but and I don't have one with Gina, but I'll put that on the list and we'll get those. Hunter, anything else you want to share before we bring on the next guest? Anything else that you think is important to the lesson today?
Well, I just think in general, we just have to think, I always talk about with you, Dave, like, what are we doing to uncommoditize ourselves, right? And I think just having these personal conversations, having your business partners understand how consistent you are to how you handle, I call leads the business partners give us, they're handing us over their livelihoods on a silver platter, and how we choose to respond to that means everything to them. And we owe it to them to put our best foot forward. And I just think having these initial conversations up front is super impactful.
Love it. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from everyone. Hunter, you're the man, bro.
Thanks, brother.
Give me some. Can't wait to see you in the real world. Do that in the real world. So we had some folks ask about Jeremy Forcier's site visit. Todd from Win by Noon, and I helped facilitate it, did a premium site visit with Jeremy Forcier. Stay tuned on that. For anybody that does want to get invited to the next Jeremy Forcier site visit, email todd@winbynoon.com, todd@winbynoon.com, and say, I want to be invited to that. And we'll be kind of putting together a list of who wants to do that. So first of all, Todd, anything you want to call out from what Hunter said before we bring on Shivani?
Well, what I love is the simplicity of it, right? Hunter has a list that he goes through. And what that does is it means you don't forget any of the key topics. And the fact that he then actually shares it, not just with his team, but with his partners as well. So it's really this well-oiled machine. And the fact that he said that you will be more successful working with me, and basically says, hey, if you don't, you shouldn't be working with me. I think that's really huge, right? Shayla talked about it earlier on. You have to have this mindset and believe in yourself. And obviously when Hunter, you have that conversation with a realtor or a client, you know that you're going to provide a better experience than somebody else.
Yeah, 100%.
So guys, we are now in the fourth quarter of this game. And we all know that that's where games are won and lost. In fact, sometimes they can be won or lost in the last minute of a game. So I know that some of you have watched this whole thing from start to finish, and some of you, you're jumping in and out of this. So stay strong. We've got some great content left. Before we bring on the next guest, I think Todd has something else to share.
Well, I forgot to call out that you did a wardrobe change. You got your No Borrowers Left Behind shirt on, Dave.
Oh, yeah. No, I am, now with Sales Boomerang being part of the Mortgage Coach family and Mortgage Coach being part of the Sales Boomerang family, the ethos of Mortgage Coach has always been clients for life, and clients for life the two most important things. It's how you start the relationship. Do you start the relationship transactional with a fee worksheet, or do you start the relationship with value? Are you the captain of the wealth team that gives people advice and then you do annual reviews? So after the next speaker, I'll share a few thoughts on how the combination of Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang is the ultimate client for life platform. But thanks for calling that out. Also, guys, while we don't have it in the Win by Noon store yet, we do have Mortgage Coach shirts, the one I was wearing earlier, but we're going to have some of these No Borrower Left Behind shirts in the Win by Noon store really soon. Thanks for calling that out, brother.
Hey, you bet. So I'm really excited to have Shivani Peterson back on next. Last time we saw Shivani, she was getting ready to have a baby. So congratulations, Shivani. I've seen lots of posts about that. So, but welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself to the community who might not know who you are?
Thank you. So I've been a part of the Mortgage Coach community, just watching the videos as a nobody for like 9 years. And it has been monumental to my business. So to now get to speak, I'm kind of, geeking out a bit.
Oh, Shivani, you're so cool. So Shivani is the #1 producer in her company. She helped 290 families last year, 113 million. We did a top producer with her, and Todd and I were both at the end of it like, whoa. I mean, like her energy, her vibe, her transparency, the fact that she is a true advisor in Mortgage Coach. You were just a shining light in last year's interviews, Shivani. So welcome to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA. If you could tell us why you picked the script that you're going to share with us today.
For sure. So I think that we all know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into some psychology, and I want everyone to look alive because I am 100% certain this will elevate your business and you in your market. So I picked this script because we all know that confidence attracts people. I've experienced that and seen it prove itself true for the last 9 years. But even further, what I've learned is that uncertainty repels people. If there is any stumbling, confusion in your mortgage process or the way you answer questions, it's not only going to lose you the client, it's going to be exponentially harmful to your business. So the script I'm going to share today centers around spreading calm during times of uncertainty, or like we're experiencing now during times of straight up chaos.
I love that. I love that. So let's get into it. I think the way we actually called it was how to win spreading certainty during chaotic times. And I think everyone on this can empathize with the fact that it's a little chaotic. I mean, rates have gone up. There's a war in the world. It's hard to get your offer accepted. It is not an easy time to be a home buyer or a homeowner who's trying to optimize their finances. So why don't you share how you're spreading certainty during these chaotic times?
Well, having the TCAs as a tool is key, right? Because it makes it so much easier for us to provide clarity. But I think there's certain language you need to be using when you're delivering these TCAs to establish yourself as an advisor, to establish yourself as the client's trusted real estate guide. So like I said, the script centers around spreading calm. And I think we can do that really easily with the combination of a TCA and some certain language. So what we've all already seen over the last 2 years in real estate is that our clients are on edge, right? I mean, the pandemic led to job uncertainty, all the things Dave just mentioned, an insanely competitive market, which a lot of us have talked about on the SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, and now to a wildly volatile interest rate climate that's affecting affordability. But I can tell you guys, I've seen this script prove itself time and time again as establishing my team as the client's source of calm during chaos, which you'd be shocked at what that does for your business. What you're trying to tell your clients in this script is that I don't just have your back, I'm proactively guarding for you. So I'll use a TCA, and I don't know, Dave, if it'd be okay with you if I share my screen and show that TCA.
Shivani, you could do anything you want to do. So go for it.
That's Dave's love language. Of course you can show your TCA.
I know. Come on. Is that a trick question, Shivani? You could always show a total cost analysis. I can't get enough of them.
So this is what we show clients when they're heading into a situation where they're going to have to offer above ask, and they're likely going to get into a bidding war. So the first thing I say is, okay, Sally, you can see here if you make an offer at the listing price versus if you go ahead and offer 10,000 over listing, the impact to your monthly payment and cash to close actually isn't that consequential. And I want everyone to have consequential burned into their brain. That's the exact word I want you to use, is not that consequential. Now, the next thing that they're going to be wondering is, well, what happens if it doesn't appraise, right? We've talked about this a lot on the call already. So the next thing I say to them is, if the appraisal comes in low, I have a plan in place for you. So now you're not just the person who's trying to get them to make an offer. You're also the person who's got plans in place and thinking proactively for them about future obstacles that could come in their way and how you're going to handle it. So then we show them, right? Okay, if you offer 10,000 over and it comes in low, this is what's going to happen. This is what happens to your cash to close. Again, not that consequential, but another future question that could be coming into your mind is, what if I don't want my cash to close to increase? And I've got you covered there as well. I have a plan in place. I hope everyone's hearing me say, I have a plan in place. So what we've done here, we're trying to help the client understand that there's options, right, in this competitive market. Because the next thing Sally is going to say to me is, I just feel like I'm giving the seller everything and they're getting the whole win. Sally, I hear you. I know that right now it's really hard to be in a market competing against a bunch of buyers to get your offer accepted. What I want to do is return you to a place of power. Right now, you're competing to get your offer accepted. You're not guaranteeing that you're going to buy this house. I want to put you in a position where you and your realtor can do the due diligence, get your inspections done, and decide if this is the right investment for you. I want to get you out of this battlefield. And that's why we're putting together these strategies to make a super strong offer. So I'll stop sharing so you guys can see me again. What we're doing there and talking to the client like that and saying, I want to put you back in a position of power and get you off this battlefield is not to get them to make a bunch of offers on houses they're not actually going to buy or try to get an offer accepted. But psychologically, I don't want them to feel like the underdog anymore. I want to be the person who's putting them back in a place of power, because that person to them is very valuable. So at this point in the conversation, and it's specific to this, it's not specific to this TCA. It could happen in a conversation where you're doing a refi TCA or any other pre-approval TCA. But at this point in the conversation is going to come a pivotal moment that I want you guys to be prepared for. And the only way you're going to be prepared for this is if you know the client and their finances. So every time I send a TCA to a client, I'm showing them, the 4 options it allows me to show them. But 90% of the time, I already know which option is the best for them. And I know that because of the discovery call I did where I gathered information about them, and then the research I did in putting together the total cost analysis. So when that moment comes when they say, okay, we've gone over the pros and cons, I think I understand all these options, but Shivani, what do you think I should do? I don't pause. There's no hesitation. There's no uncertainty. I answer quickly with confidence the strategy that I think is best for them. And then I add one simple line, again, a key part of this script. Sally, I am confident this is the right move for you right now. And it's as simple as that. All of a sudden, the client is at ease and they feel good that they've got me helping them to make the right decision. They feel good about the strategy to move forward.
So guys, first of all, that was so powerful. The scripting was amazing. Here's some comments. Love how you control the narrative. By the way, I bet realtors love the way she's controlling the narrative, because she's not just a loan officer that can close loans on time, keep her promises to clients. She's a loan officer that can prepare people with the confidence and the clarity to make a winning offer. And let's face it, in most markets in America today, a winning offer is not full price. A winning offer is over full price. The question is how much over full price you have to do it. So she's got a loan officer, she's got a playbook that's doing that. One of the things that we're seeing very common in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel is where, not only are you doing that, but don't keep it a secret. Make sure your realtors know it. Make sure you're doing meetings with your realtors, lunch and learns with realtors, creating social media content so that they know that you're not just a loan officer. The other thing I want to call out to everyone is Shivani's good and she's amazing the way she's delivering it. But guys, she's not like practicing this weekly. She's not practicing this monthly. She's doing this every single day. She's making sure that every family is getting a total cost analysis where she's playing chess, not checkers, and she's become great at it. She's a grandmaster. She's done this over 1,000 times. So Shivani, anything else you want to make sure people get, or some more phrasing or words that you want to make sure people hear?
Yeah, just a little bit more to speak to what you just said about realtors, because it's not just clients who are feeling uncomfortable right now. It's realtors, right? Like, we probably all noticed in our markets that realtors are downright scared, if we're being honest, because they're having to work really hard. And as Denise said, they're oftentimes not getting paid for it because their offer is not accepted. So the other thing you got to do with your clients is train them to use the TCA the way that you want them to, and the way that's going to benefit their realtor. So of course, every realtor is getting those alerts, right? That the clients viewed the TCA. When you're doing the initial pre-approval and you're showing them the options after you've figured out what they qualify for, you say, Sally, I've put together a couple different strategies for you here, possibly so that you could, maybe make an offer non-contingent, different down payment percentages we could use. But the thing is, I really want you to send me the address of every house you're going to see before you go see it with the realtor. So if the listing alert comes up, the pictures look good to you, it's promising, send me the address before you go see it. I want you to review the numbers, be comfortable with the monthly payment, have a down payment strategy in place before you even walk into that house. It's going to put you in a better place psychologically to make a good, smart financial decision, but it's also going to put you in a position to act quickly, because if you like that house, your realtor is going to need to offer fast. So then we've created confidence for the client, we've created confidence for the realtor, and we get to be the hero who's putting everyone at ease. And that's how you deal with this crazy times. You just become the source of calm. While other lenders out there are using fear tactics and pressure to sell, you're not. You're the source of calm.
Wow, you're placing your clients in a better place psychologically. Guys, she's playing a whole different game than most loan officers who are selling rates, selling fees, how fast you can close your loan. Kristen Reagan, I'm so digging her. So you're making lots of new friends here. I'm not going to put you on the spot, but we're doing that fast track training at 1:00 Pacific on Friday. And if you have time, we would love to have you help. We're going to have Suzanne, our director of e-learning, where we're going to be doing mortgage coach how-tos, and we're going to have at least 1 or 2 loan officers. But Shivani, check your schedule and let me know if you can join me on that training.
These days are not so much my schedule, but baby Anjali's schedule. I'll check hers and let you know.
Okay, I love that. And by the way, you notice that, guys, she's a leader. She didn't just say yes to that. She's very careful about what she says yes to. I remember when I did the first SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, and I told all the speakers, you get to pick what you do. And Shayla Gifford, I think 2 of the top producers on that were Shayla and Alex Varela. And they're like, I want to talk about how to say no and how to manage my time. So guys, you're getting scripts on how to tactically win by noon, that is. And you're getting ideas on how to be a great leader. Todd, anything you want to pull out of what Shivani just shared with us all?
I will in one sec. You're talking about not the first SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA. You're talking about the first Modern Mortgage Summit is where they did those.
You're right. You're right.
So just for clarification, if you go back and watch the first SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, you won't see those, but that was from Modern Mortgage Summit. I think that, the thing I love, Shivani, that you started off with is that confidence attracts and uncertainty repels. And we totally see it when you're talking how confident you are with what you're saying to your clients and how important that is. And I just love that you highlighted that as well as everything else you shared.
All right, guys. Well, Shivani, thank you so much. I can't wait to the next interview in the Mortgage Coach channel. Let us know if you can make it at 1:00 this Pacific. This next guest I have interviewed a lot of times. We've done some incredible content in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel. So for you new loan officers, if you like what Ryan Grant shares, know that you can check out some of the other interviews. I interviewed him a couple, it wasn't 2 weeks ago, but let's just say a week and a half ago. And he shared some things that I thought were super important on how to differentiate in this marketplace. So Ryan's team closed 520 families last year, so served a lot of families, did over 300 million in production. He's killing it. Ryan, welcome to SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA. And if you could tell us what script you're going to share and why you picked the script that you're going to do today.
Yeah, thanks everyone for having me here. First of all, Shivani, that was amazing. I was listening to that the whole time and super inspiring. So great work. Thank you for sharing all that with us. The two scripts, and I'll try and keep them as short as I possibly can, even though sometimes I can get wordy. One is really how to differentiate yourself on the initial phone call with the client, how to really set yourself apart from other mortgage competitors. And then the second is how to get agents to really understand how your superpower can become their superpower. Because, not only do we need one, but our real estate partners need a superpower as well. So those will be the two I'll talk about today. You want me to dive right into them?
If you could dive right into it, let's go.
We will do that. Cool. So one of the first things, and I heard Hunter talk about this a little bit, which is also great, is understanding, kind of where the lead came from, and then how much they know about you, right? Like, what did they say about you? I think that's a really powerful question to ask. And so one of the things that we teach our team to ask is, let's say Dave's my client, he calls, says, hey, I was referred to you by so-and-so. One of the first questions I want to ask is, Dave, I'm really excited to chat with you today. Did John talk to you about what makes us unique and different as a mortgage lender? And you're likely going to get a no, right? Unless you've really trained all of your agents to set you up appropriately, or your online content has people coming to you for a very specific reason. And so the answer is going to be, no, he just said you were great and, I should talk to you and that he works with you all the time. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, I think it's important that you understand the difference between us and then really the rest of the mortgage industry. And so, Dave, have you been pre-approved before? Have you been through this process? Have you ever talked to other lenders? Again, more often than not, you're going to get a yes. If it's a first-time home buyer, you might get a no. But let's assume it's a yes, because if it's a no, you'll just dive right into it, right? But if it's a yes, I'm going to say, great. So, Dave, can I take a shot at how that went, right? So you called the lender, they called you, you talked for a couple minutes, they sent you an online application, they asked you to send them some documentation, and then within a short period of time, you had a pre-approval letter and they told you what you were pre-approved for. Is that about accurate? And you're always going to get a, yes, that's about right. And then right there, I would say, Dave, first of all, I want to apologize. Dave's going to say, for what? And my response would be, unfortunately, Dave, that was an example of someone who was interested in selling you a loan, but not someone who's interested in helping you become a really successful homeowner. Do you understand what that term is? Again, they're going to say no, right? Because if you put how to become a successful homeowner on the internet, it doesn't even have a clue what that means. And so that's when I kind of dive into who we are. And so I'm going to say, Dave, there's a difference between other lenders and us. Other lenders really just want to sell you a loan, right? And then the rest of your life is on you. Our value proposition, we break down into three really distinct parts, right? So how we help you before the transaction, which is incredibly important in this marketplace, how we help you during the transaction, and then most importantly, and the reason why over 75% of our clients, Dave, actually choose to work with us, is how we help them after the transaction. So Dave, we're going to go through all this in our consultation, but just in brief, right? Before the transaction, we're going to help you move your offer acceptance rate from probably around 10%, which is the average offer acceptance rate in our market, to north of 74%, which is our average offer acceptance rate in our market. We have what's called a bulletproof buyer program, where we're going to help you look like cash, have a lot of confidence, and be highly motivated in your decision, because you'll have all the education you need. It's also important that you don't just know what you can do, but what you mentioned with the other lender is they sent you a pre-approval letter, and that pre-approval letter said what you can do, but they didn't actually tell you what you should do. And there's a very big difference between those two. So we're going to go through all the education and analysis with you. We're going to spend some time. We'll have about a 45-minute to hour-long consultation where we show you what's called a mortgage coach total cost analysis, where we go through all of your different purchase price options, down payment options, monthly payment options. And then we're going to ask you questions, in this discovery process, like, when do you want to retire? Did that other lender ask you that? No. Did they talk about life insurance or disability insurance, or even allude to the importance of that? No. Okay, well, did they talk at all about estate planning or generational wealth planning with that home, or how long you may want to be in it? No. So Dave, I hope you can start to understand that really someone just wanted to sell you a loan, right? If they were really interested in helping you become a successful homeowner, they have to ask those questions, because I can't, in good conscience, give you really good advice or guidance about how to structure your mortgage now and into the future if I don't know more than just what's on that mortgage application. Does that make sense? So Dave, in the during process, you can go online and look at our reviews. We have phenomenal customer service, but I'm going to be honest with you, Dave. I think customer service is kind of subjective. I think you should expect it. Right? I think what we do is really important and special, but that's for you to decide. But ultimately, Dave, the reason why people choose us and why I think I'm really excited to work with you and your family is we're going to help you not just for 30 days leading up to the transaction, because that's just not, it's important. It's just nowhere nearly as important as the next 30 years, right? Because what you do from the time you close the transaction to the next 30 years is going to completely make or break how successful you are as a homeowner. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but 44% of every American and 63% of every millennial has some form of regret within 1 to 2 years of buying a home. And that's typically because they got a mortgage quickly. The person didn't give them advice or guidance. They just kind of clicked a button, got mortgage. And the real estate professional kind of just showed them a few homes and they bought one. And our clients are never a part of that statistic because it's just really important that you understand what we're going to do. So we're going to go into that more in the consultation, but briefly, where you're going to have a home concierge that will help you with home maintenance and upkeep and repair, which will save you tens of thousands of dollars just in the first year alone, likely. And I can show you some stats on that. We're going to make sure that you always understand your net worth through real estate, because that's typically going to be the biggest asset you have. Every year, we're going to do annual financial reviews with our client success manager, who will be dedicated to you and your team. We're going to make sure we're proactively managing your mortgage. That way you're always in the right loan at the right time. We're going to make sure we help you move in from one property to the next through our dedicated relocation technology. And then we can actually help you buy your new home cash before you potentially sell your departing residence if you have one. We can help you ensure you never sell your home without making sure it's the highest price. So we're going to dive into all of that, but I just think it's important that you understand there's most of the mortgage industry, which is kind of quote rate, close loan. And then us, which is we really purposefully commit to helping you become a successful homeowner for years and years and years to come. And so we'll explain more of that, but I just wanted you to know what makes us a little bit different. So let's jump into some of the questions and we'll start from there. So that's how I think that was around about 5 minutes. In a 5-minute span, you can get someone to fully understand, okay, I'm talking to a different like financial mind here, right? This is not just customer service and rate and speed and the stuff that we all typically talk about. Somebody's asking, they've told me the questions they're going to ask and how important they are. And they've alluded to the fact that I wasn't asked those questions, so that person must not have cared. And nobody that I've ever talked to has told me any of the importance about buying a home or being a good homeowner after buying the home. Right? And team, just think about it, right? What decisions you're going to make in the next 30 days will absolutely pale in comparison to the decisions you may or may not make. And what we've realized is people aren't wealthy because they have money. They're wealthy because they have access to information, right? And people providing them that information. We can be a
time out, Ryan.
What's that?
They have access because they have you, brother. This man is a coach. He is a leader. The chat is filling up with amazing comments. I want to make sure everybody calls out a few phrases that he said. Successful homeowner. We make you a successful homeowner. We help you grow your net worth through real estate. Guys, Ryan and his team, mortgage coaches, are playing an entirely different game. Most loan officers sell rates and fees and loans and transactional service. Everybody that's on this stage is selling advice. They're selling leadership. They're selling, we're going to make how to achieve your financial freedom point faster. So I just had to jump in there at the 5-minute mark. I know you got a few more minutes, so we'll let you go into your other script, but I just wanted to make sure that got called out.
Throw one thing in, Dave, too. He said value proposition, right? He said you should have high expectations of customer service. And I think you can't not listen to that and think, wow, that was truly valuable to the consumer. And so again, think about your value proposition as Ryan goes through the rest of his scripts.
Thanks, guys. And if anybody wants more information on this, feel free to have them reach out. I'd be happy to help. But now I want to talk about the real estate agents. And so one of the things that we've been really proud of is that we've been able to work with, some of the top real estate teams across the country. Right? We work with real estate teams and, I'm in Orange County, but we have Tennessee and Texas and Washington and Florida. And what I found is in a very short period of time, the thing that real estate professionals need more than anything right now is not low rates. It's not closing fast. It's not products. It's not communication, right? It's inspiration. They are a beaten down group right now, right? There's 4 homes in the entire country for sale, right? And hopefully they got one of those listings. They have, an endless number of buyers who are dejected, who are, frustrated, who can't get into homes. And so what we need to do for our agents is help them tell a different story, right? We need to help them understand that they can think of themselves differently. And so I'll kind of walk you through that script. So if I'm sitting down with an agent, or if I'm in front of a group of agents and I have the opportunity to share our superpowers, one of the first things I'll do is I'm going to say, hey, Todd, what do you do for a living? And Todd's going to answer,
I own Win by Noon.
Todd's a real estate agent. So he's going to say, I
Oh,
sell real estate.
real estate agent. I forgot that part. Yes. I sell houses. I help people live the American dream.
Love it. Right. So we get every iteration of that you can think of, right? Because people try and get pretty creative. And I'm going to say, by the end of our meeting today, I want you to understand how a partnership with our team will help you answer that question differently. And by the end of it, I want you to say, when someone asks, Todd, what do you do for a living? I want you to just look at them and smile and say, I'm actually changing the real estate industry, and fully be confident in how you can step into that. Right. And how we do that is through our platform, right? So, Mr. Agent, when you work with a client, obviously getting into the home is the first part, but what do you do after the transaction closes to show that client real economic value, right? Because everybody knows commissions are under attack, the same way that we have margin compression in the mortgage space, right? So how can you show your value as a real estate professional, not just during the transaction, because everybody's going to talk about marketing and closing fast and being able to sell the home for the highest price, but how can you actually stand apart? So what is it that you do that moves the financial needle in your client's life once the transaction closes? And they're going to think, and they're going to think, and they're going to think, and they're not going to have a lot, right? I haven't come across an agent that has really told me anything they do other than, well, we're here for them if they need anything, right? If they need a plumber, if they need this, that, or the other. And I say, look, that's great, but it's also reactive, right? What do you proactively do to be able to show someone that you not only can be a part of their life in their kind of a part of their financial team, but you should be expected to be a part of their financial team? And then again, they're kind of thinking that, I guess not much. And I'm going to say, so this is how we can help you redefine what it means to be a real estate professional in your market. So through the partnership, you're going to be able to do all these things that we do and say all these things without actually having to do them, right? Because our team will take them on. So same thing, before, during, and after. So here's how we help our clients before, here's how we help them during, here's how we help them after. If you guys can remember those 3 things and really define what that is in your world, it just helps people understand, because there's 3 very distinct parts of a transaction. So the before is a lot of the stuff that has likely been talked about in this call, underwrite the file, look like cash, highly motivate them, educate them on what's happening with the real estate market from a lender side, not a realtor side. The during part, talk about your process. One of the great questions I love asking our agents is, hey, when you refer to your current lender, do you know every step that happens from the first phone call to 30 years after closing? I've never met an agent who said yes yet, right? And I say, I think it's really important that you know that, because it's an extension of your brand. So I'm not going to walk you through it in full detail, but I do think you need to know the high level components of it. So all the things we do before, right? All the things we do during, our gifting process, our communication cadence, our follow-up strategy, our timelines, our expectation management. And then ultimately the things we do after. And I'm going to say, Todd, this is where you can confidently look someone in the eye and say, Joe, I promise I'm going to be the most valuable person in your life when it comes to real estate and finance, along with our financing team, for the next 30 years. And here's why, right? Here's the cadence of what we do, right? So very similar to how I talk to the client, home concierge to help you maximize the value of your home and ensure that you have home maintenance, home repair, and home upkeep in place. It costs an average person $8,500 just in the first year in owning their home, that if they don't understand that, right? So we're going to help you with that component, and then for years after. Right, we're going to help you fully understand your net worth through real estate every single month. And we'll proactively help you look at that. We call it kind of like a digital interactive bank statement for your home, right? And we're going to help you navigate that, because our clients that use this the most, and almost 90% of our clients open this every single month, those are our most successful clients, right? They become our most successful homeowners. And then ultimately, our team will make sure that you're always in the right home and the right loan at the right time. We're going to manage that for you proactively. We're going to have a team member who's assigned to you, who's going to be calling you 3 months after closing, 6 months after closing, and every year on the anniversary of your closing to ensure that you're maximizing tax benefits, planning for retirement well, talking about generational wealth planning with parents and children, estate planning, insurances and trusts, right? All the stuff that you need to be a well-rounded holistic homeowner. We're going to take that off your plate. Right, and then we go into a couple of the things that we do, but I want to be cognizant of people's time. So this is where, when at the end of a conversation with a real estate agent, you need to have them feel different, right? Because the old Maya Angelou quote, people will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And if you can make a real estate agent feel like they have a superhero cape on, and they can go tell a completely different story to the entire community that they serve, because you and your team are the conduit that makes that happen, I just don't think that there's a lender in the country that can compete with that, no matter how fast they are, how good their rates are, how great their customer service is, because that's not actually what people need to move this market and to redefine what it means to be a real estate and mortgage professional.
They don't need loan officers, guys. They need captain of the wealth team. They need a mortgage coach who is helping them at the point of sale, make a confident, clear decision in today's market. And then they need that value over time. Todd, anything you want to call out around what Ryan said before we bring on our last guest? I see that Gina and Brian and some other folks are still on here. When we do the close, I will give everybody who's still on here that turns on their video a chance to share your takeaways. So Gina and Brian, if you're here through closing, be prepared to share your biggest takeaway or your favorite key concept from today. Todd.
I mean, I would just point out that Ryan just had a different conversation with a real estate agent than most of you probably have had. He's helping them change their perspective of how they're going to view themselves as a change maker in their industry and how they can add value, not just now, but over time, right? He's teaching them that they have a story to tell for client for life when they team up with him and his team. And I think that is just huge. And you just used the word confidence again. Shivani used the word confidence. And as we hear this, when you have a system like Ryan has, I mean, he does one of the things that I always tell people they need to do is he's asking them, hey, well, what's my competition? What's your current loan officer? What does their process look like? And most of the time they have no idea. I'm guessing their loan officer has a process. I know it's not as good as Ryan's, but they have a process. But the fact that Ryan's asking him that, and then he's going to tell him about his process is how he's going to win every time. And so, I guess real quick, I don't know if you can do it in a quick sec or not. I mean, everyone's probably asking, well, how are you going to get that meeting with the realtor? Ryan, do you mind just walking through, what that phone call looks like?
Yeah, I would never recommend cold calling a real estate agent. I think it automatically brings you from a point of inferiority, just in the kind of the nature of that communication. And so I would always, just do everything I can to be referred to that person. So the clear and easiest one is listing agent, right? Another is going to each one of your current agents and saying, I did a whole apology tour when I first figured this concept out, right? That we need to help differently. And so I said, hey, look, I'm sorry. I don't want to be everything to everyone anymore. I just want to be the right things to the right people. And I'm committing to you and a few others that, I want to help you change this entire industry. Who else do you know, who I should be talking to, whether it's in this market or another, to be able to help us accomplish this together? Because, when we're waving more of these flags, it works for everyone. And the same thing with, financial planners, estate planning attorneys, CPAs, contractors. Just every time you talk to anyone, ask to be referred to a real estate professional, and then just daisy chain that through. And sooner or later, as you start doing like one-to-many content, social media is phenomenal. We did an event the other day. We had 800 real estate agents across the country because we just taught a class, right? And then from there, people will reach out. And so one-to-many is great to be able to show your kind of mastery of the subject. And then, typically you'll get a lot of inbound stuff coming in that way as well.
So I want to make sure everybody caught, before he asked for the referral, he talked about a mission. We want to change this industry. We want to help families build wealth with real estate. We want to help homeowners be successful. And then I don't want to work with a bunch, but I want to work with a few that want to deliver that kind of service and value. So I want to make sure everybody caught that. So before we bring up Wally, Todd and I talked about WACD. What Amazon and Zillow cannot do, and what they can do. And that's what you need to do, guys. So with Boomerang, our mission, our ethos is no borrower left behind. You know, both Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang. We are dedicated to being the leader in client for life. So I want to show you what big data can do. So all of the biggest lenders in the country can do this. If Amazon ever got in the business, you know, this is what your database looks like. You know what the biggest lenders in the country's database looks like? It looks like this, guys. They know whose credit score just went up by 50 points. They know who just listed their home. They know when there's a credit inquiry. They know everything they need to know before the consumer knows that there is a transaction there. Guys, with Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang, you could know that same thing about your database. So we're going to put a link to Sales Boomerang. But in today's market, if it was 4 months ago, I would have showed a rate and term refi here. But in today's market, there's a lot of folks that have equity. They've got a lot of equity in their home. They've got credit card debt. They've got car loans. I'm going to show a quick total cost analysis. This was one of the most popular TCAs of last year. You'll see here, we called it the single mom refi because it was a single mom who had been paying on her mortgage for, 8 years, didn't want to go backwards, so she was afraid to refi, but needed about $5,000 for some work on the house, had some credit card debt. This loan officer, Alex Cook, by the way, you can go watch my whole interview with Alex. He used the Mortgage Coach total cost analysis to create a transformational difference for this client. I recently did an interview with Drake and Josh, and you guys can check that out on our YouTube channel, where literally a client, was able to go from paying debt for the next 15 years to having $4 million in net worth if they just followed the loan officer. So I just want to call out, to fully execute on that, make sure you check out salesboomerang.com. We'll put a link down below. Follow us in the channel. Sales Boomerang is an enterprise-only platform. You need to have at least 10,000 records to use Sales Boomerang. But now that Mortgage Coach and Sales Boomerang are together more than ever, we're dedicated. No borrower left behind, no profits left behind, no loan officers left behind. We want to help you guys create clients for life. So Todd, anything else you want to say before we bring on our last speaker, Mr. Wally Ellerberry?
Well, I just think you said, no loan officer left behind. And I just think that really speaks to our mission and why you and I have been doing SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA and all the calls we've been doing together. You've been doing it for over 10 years, but you and I for over 5 years together in the Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind group is that we really want you all to be successful. This business is going to push a lot of loan officers out this year, and we do not want it to be you. So I just say thank you, Ryan. As always, you delivered huge value to the community, and I know that we've got Wally teed up to close out, and then hang tight because Dave and I are going to invite on those other speakers that you mentioned who are still here. So Ryan, if you want to make some closing comments, hang out as well, and then we'll get you all off in your day.
So let's bring Mr. Wally Ellerberry on stage. $200 million a year in production. I've interviewed this man many times. Wally. All right, everybody. I am super pumped for this next guest. He is someone that I've interviewed a number of times, some of the all-time best interviews in the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, Wally Ellerberry. Wally, what's up, my brother?
You give the best intros ever. I mean, you're like the professional intro guy. I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on again, and appreciate all the support.
Well, appreciate you've already done one interview this year. I know we're going to get more from you. For anyone who doesn't know who Wally is, he did over $200 million last year, served around 589 families. That's almost 600 loans. So what does that mean? Clearly, he's using technology. Clearly, he's using media. And clearly, he's a great leader. Those are the things of a modern mortgage professional. So Wally, I know when I asked you what scripts are you passionate about, you really had two. One, which was how you're working with builders and getting more business. Maybe we can get that out of you in a different day. But right now, you've got some very good scripting with CPAs, financial planners, wealth advisors, as I think you call them. First of all, why'd you want to share that script? And then walk us through it.
Yeah, so make sure everybody stays tuned to the builder script. That's really helped us a ton. We've landed 2 major business-sized builders here in DFW with that script. So make sure you tune in for that. And if you feel that I'm doing anything I can do better on that, please let me know. It's kind of a new space we've kind of grown into. Number one. Number two, I think the biggest thing is, Dave and I sat down, gosh, I think it was like 2017, and I was a one-trick pony. And we focused on realtors. And what we realized is I was leaving so much on the table. We focused on annual mortgage reviews through 2018, 2019. Then 2020, we started focusing on wealth advisors. So it's CPAs, financial advisors, family will attorneys. And it's really grown where, our database went from 2,000 households that we market to over 11,000 households that we market to. And what you got to understand is there's so much more business you can do. And it was kind of a neat process that, there's a pinnacle mortgage of $100 million in loans. That pinnacle mortgage of $100 million last year, we did twice as much as that. It's pretty neat to get the $200 million club. And, we all want to be Denise Donahue when we grow up. So we're just trying to keep up with her. But I'd say that the biggest thing with wealth advisors really helped us a ton in that space, and especially the financial advisor space, is how do you coach clients? How do you coach their clients to take their home's net worth to grow their personal net worth? I mean, let's wrap our head around that. Everybody in DFW, I'd say you rewind like 3 years ago, homes are appreciating 3 to 5% a year. Then it goes like 15% a year increase next year, 20% a year increase the year after, and so on and so on. It keeps rising. Well, everybody's got a mass amount of equity in their home. Then when you sit down with a wealth advisor, and like, hey, that equity is locked in their house, but how can they grow in the market, in the space right now? I've got some wealth advisors that are advising their clients, hey, pull that equity out of your house, and hey, we can 3x it, we can 5x it, we can 10x it over 30 years investment into your portfolio. I've got some clients that refer to me by financial advisors that they're pulling out equity out of their house to start life insurance policies, whole life insurance policies. I had a client that pulled out $250,000 of cash equity out of this house, moved that into a whole life insurance policy, then made the beneficiary of the whole life insurance policy the family will and trust. Like, talk about generational wealth and generational wealth protection for years and years and years to come. That's where like the true wealth comes from. But wealth advisors know that space. We know the cash out space. If you're in mortgage, it's a pretty easy space to learn. So with financial advisors, there's two major strategies that we want to focus on. Number one is the cash out. And again, I'm more, this is SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA. I'm not the type that's going to give you a 4-page script of what to say, or I'm going to give you bullet points, and I want you as a loan officer, use your imagination, use your creativity, use whatever your words out of your mouth, not mine, to be able to implement that so you can have the best results for you instead of try to reduplicate what I do. So on a financial advisor, the lump sum cash out, obviously it's a simple analogy. It's two different cash outs that we do. One, we pull out equity to start life insurance policies, or pull out equity to invest in the market. Or the other option is pull out equity to pay off debts. That creates more cash flow monthly that they can invest on a monthly basis with a wealth advisor. Either one of those, it helps the client and the family grow their wealth in the future. But then more importantly, the financial advisor, the wealth advisor's got more money to be able to invest, which is a huge win for them, clearly.
Yeah, well, I would love at some point, you may not have one now, but a TCA that's anonymized, so we don't know the client's name, where you were able to, through strategic equity management with a mortgage coach, whether it's cash out to invest or you did debt consolidation so that they could be investing more money. I would love to see a couple sample total cost analysis that we could put down below. So anyone watching this in SCRIPT-a-PALOOZA, we're going to have a whole deliverable for you where we get a transcript of this. We have some taking action notes. And for most of the speakers, we will actually have some sample total cost analysis. So stay tuned on that. So Wally, walk us through how first I'll let you do it however you want, whether you just want to give us the script or you want to tell us how you coach the advisor to have the conversation with the borrower. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, so I'm going to give them the broad ideas, then we'll kind of deep dive in it. This 60
well, remember, you only got about 5 more minutes because we got to keep it to 10. So go for it.
All right, so CPA. So what do CPAs do? they obviously take care of tax insurance. What is the biggest bugaboo on tax insurance for self-employed borrowers? IRS tax liens. So I had a borrower last week that actually pulled equity out of his house to pay off his $75,000 IRS tax lien that he had. Great strategy, right? So that made me idea of like, so this week I've had 2 appointments with tax lien attorneys. So if I figured out from the CPA that they've got a need for the sake of the tax paying off the tax lien because there's a referral from the CPA, take it one step further. Where did that come from? Now I've got 2 appointments this week with CPA, with tax attorneys, which again, another referral stream, which led me thinking, obviously, the divorce attorney stream. So next week, I've got 3 divorce attorneys at meetings to bring up that same strategy. So that's a theory of what you can use it for. You can go this way, that way, that way. You can go all 4 different ways. You choose your path, Mr. and Mrs. Loan Officer. But the biggest thing is the script is super simple. And I think I wrote down that it's arming your financial advisors how the borrowers can use their home's net worth to grow their net worth. So those are like I mean, that simple sentence right there is basically what I want everybody to understand on. Everybody's home is appreciated massive amount. You didn't have to do that principal pay down. The appreciation of the massive amount, you take that cash, then you can grow your net worth. So is that good enough there, Dave? Or want me to dig a little deeper on that?
Well, I think it gives us a good phrase that everybody can use. And I think you've said enough that people can have the conversation with a CPA, financial planner, life insurance agent. But give us some, do you train your advisors on how to have this conversation? Or do you just, show them a couple TCAs and then they're good to go?
No, what I've learned is you ask about their process. So tell me about your process. Well, the financial advisors I work with do a fact-finding meeting. Okay, in that fact-finding meeting, may I see an example of that? What are those questions that you ask? And we break down those fact-finding meeting. There's like 6 pages worth of questions. I've slid 3 separate different questions in those that bring up opportunities like that. And when they answer those questions in a way that needs the referrals, then obviously they refer me. But the most important thing, what I've seen successful in my world is I don't want a CPA or financial advisor or family will attorney to reinvent the wheel. I just want to add a spoke to their wheel. Just add a spoke to their wheel. Don't give them an extra task to do. Don't give them homework to do. Just add a spoke to their wheel.
All right. So I think we got it. Before you go, because the market has shifted, rates have gone up so much, I do want to know that, and you could answer this 2 ways. When someone says, what's your rate? I'd like to know how you handle that. Or if someone's grinding on you, someone's rate shopping you, which one do you want to do? When you want to respond to what's your rate, or you want to give us your tactic?
If someone says, what's my rate? I mean, I'm old school. So I just say, I've got 7.5 pages with the rate sheets. Which one do you want? And, it's before the optimal blue days and those scripts still in me. But no, I would just say, I got 7.5 pages with the rate sheets. Which one do you want? Well, I want the lowest one. My question back is, how do you know that lowest one works for you? How do you know that lowest one's going to help you long-term with your wealth? How do you know that lowest one is going to actually benefit you long-term, not just short-term? And that's where right now, I mean, we're doing 10-1 ARMs a lot right now, 10-1 ARM with over a 30-year amortization. 30-year fix might be like 3.875 right now-ish, somewhere in that range, but we're doing 10-1 ARMs like 3.3 or 3.49. So it's easily 0.5 point less than below the market. So if you're a loan officer and you're having trouble selling the 30-year fixed option, let's think outside the box. 10-1 ARM, realistically, you're going to refinance them within the next 10 years, or they're going to move in the next 10 years. They're not going to be in the same mortgage 10 years. So just keep that in mind, guys and girls. You're going to get rate shopped. We're all going to do that. But candidly, right now, the news is helping us a ton. You rewind 3-4 weeks ago when the rates went up, like no one knew about it other than loan officers. It was really tough to have those conversations. Now the conversation of having, have you heard what the Fed's doing? Oh yeah, it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, okay, this is why. This is how it's going to affect rates.
Love it. Well, please send me a couple total cost analysis that we can share with everyone. I can't wait to do that scripting and how you're getting business and you're winning with builders. And Wally, we appreciate you, bro. Take care, man.
See you guys. Bye.
All right. Right on, guys. So what do we have? We had 11 leaders jump on a stage, deliver incredible value, relevant in today's market. It is March 2022. One thing I know for sure this year is that every lead, every loan, every basis point matters more than it has for the past 2 years. And the other thing I know for sure is that mortgage professionals are positioned to be the single most valuable advisor to a family. We have more data than a CPA. We have more data than a financial planner. Guys, we have more data than any, like when a family gives you their social security number and they give you their tax returns, like nobody has all that data but mortgage professionals. And one thing I also know for sure is that the mortgage is the single most important financial planning decision that Americans ever make. Everybody wants to own a home, but guys, they don't want a mortgage. They get a mortgage because they want a home, and then they want to become debt-free faster. They want to become financially free faster. And loan officers, if you think closing a loan fast and getting the best interest rate is the way to help a family achieve financial freedom faster, you're wrong. You haven't done enough total cost analysis where you're helping families really understand their debt and really understand how to manage, like managing liabilities is the biggest opportunity for America's families. And it's up to you as loan officers, stop playing checkers. Here's your rate, here's your payment, and then negotiate. It's up to you to deliver more value. So before Todd and I share our closing thoughts, Gina just jumped on. Brian, if you are in a place that you want to share a closing thought, turn on your video. But Gina, you've been on most of this. What did what were some of your biggest takeaways, and what did you get from today?
Lots of great takeaways. I also feel, it makes me feel confident that I am using a lot of similar tactics, but there were just some little nuances that I heard, renaming things, the mortgage specialist, calling it a different tool. I love, the appraisal gap video. I was even talking about it, but why am I not sharing it? I just like the mortgage nerd was saying, that's a great takeaway, and that why am I keeping that to just one client? I should share that with everybody. So that's going to be my biggest takeaway. I starred that one, so I'm going to do that after this call. Right on. Everyone listen, this is a mastermind, so this will be in our YouTube channel. If you have questions, put them in chat. If you have takeaways, what were your biggest takeaways? I'm going to be interviewing Jeremy Forcier this Friday. I'm also going to just, some of the leaders that we've had on, while I've interviewed them in the past, I'll start looking for what questions you have, and then I'll build more interviews around that. So Brian, you jump back on camera. Any big takeaways for you, buddy?
Yeah, man. Thank you for doing this. This is an awesome panel. So sharp. Couple things I noticed. One, there were a lot of comments about rate shoppers. How do I compete with builders? Blah, blah, blah. You don't. Part of the growing as a lender is knowing like who your clients are, who your clients aren't, who your realtors are, who they aren't. And the more you identify that, it's easier to squeeze that stuff out, because it doesn't hurt to lose. It just hurts to lose in a long run. If you punt in 5 minutes, like who cares, right? The people that want to work with you, that care about the value, will stay there, right? The realtor will glue them with you the right way. You'll be able to show value. They'll get waist deep in the transaction, and they'll see that. So I would focus on everybody here. Hey, have a lot of value, be strategic in your process. To Gina's point, ask a lot of really good questions to make them feel different. And if you get the builder incentive, dude, pass. I can't beat a builder. It's giving away $7 grand. I can't beat better rate. I can't beat Quicken. I laugh and say, cool, I appreciate it. You referred off trust. Go with better rate. They're cheaper. They're not better, but if that's all you care about, no big deal. I'll do better on the next one. And I'm done. And that's okay. And I actually think this market benefits really good LOs more than ever, 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 because you have to be smart, super fast, great technology, TCAs, close in 18 days, answer the phone at 8 o'clock at night, smooth and on time with all of it. Most people can't deliver that. So right now, having all this stuff with Mortgage Coach and everything else is letting us expose our muscles even more, because we know how hard it is. And on top of that, the realtors' commissions are tied to these deals, and these low-level folks aren't able to get it done. They never will. So show your stuff, pick and choose your clients and your realtors, lose quickly on the people you can't compete with, and just elevate the mindset around value, not price. especially through a TCA. I literally don't know what I would do if you took that software away. I'd be broken.
Well, I love the value you brought to today's call. Love your energy, love your attitude. Todd, what are some of your takeaways and some of your closing thoughts today?
Well, we don't have another half hour, so I'll summarize just a couple of key ideas that I think everyone should consider. And I think, Brian, you just exemplified what Shivani said, that confidence attracts, uncertainty repels. I mean, the bottom line of what we're trying to do here today is help you be more confident by learning the scripts, right? We opened up talking about that you should become the captain of the wealth team. And then we finished up with Wally talking about exactly how he's doing that. And then you heard everyone kind of sprinkling along the way how they do it as well. I think that this whole idea of having written scripts, you've heard that people say they don't have them. I said it earlier, you want to memorize, right, what other people are saying that you want to emulate. You want to then customize it for you. And then you want to internalize it. And then Dave said you want to custom tailor it for each each client, right? So I agree with that as well. And I just call it these building blocks of the call. So you have tons of building blocks you got from today that if you can start taking the time and studying those, that you can have the confidence that you need to make sure that you attract your borrowers. Now, of course, it goes without saying that it goes along with the TCA every time. Every borrower deserves a TCA, because the bottom line is if you're not providing that, you're not giving the client A the best way to review it and look at cost over time, but B, you're also missing out on that opportunity to make it easier on yourself. It's a part of the selling process. Everyone here has a process. They know their process and they use their process as a unique value proposition when they're talking to clients and real estate agents. So in the end, we had 3.5 hours of amazing content. Make sure all the numbers over to the side or down below to get the text Dave or I, so you guys get the taking action notes. They should be sent and available to you within about 48 hours. We'll have all the transcripts. We'll have all the links that we talked about today, how to get a free trial of Win by Noon, how to get set up with the Mortgage Coach family, how to get your Mortgage Coach and Win by Noon swag, all that stuff. I just think it was an amazing day. Dave, how do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, well, I did think it was an amazing day, but I always think when it comes to things like this, it's you were here, and was this just entertainment, or is this something that actually takes your career to the next level? So it's what you do after this event. Whenever you read a book, and if you're just trying to finish it to say, oh, I read that book, that is not how you grow. You read the book, you take time to create a one-page summary for you, like in a way that you can review it and get value from it. I mean, we fire hosed you with 3.5 hours worth of content. Figure out what are the 3 things that you want to do differently. Make sure that you took actionable notes for yourself. And again, that's why we spend the extra time to have this transcribed, which is a several $100 investment. That's why we take the time to have an e-learning expert go through those notes and put them in actionable, trainable format. Now, we didn't do that so you guys could cut and paste it and say, oh, I have notes. No, guys, you've got to take those notes and then, what are you going to do? Like, you should have 3 to 4 pages of your own notes from this event so you can take action. My mission at Mortgage Coach, while yes, I'm a SaaS entrepreneur who wants lots of paid members, I gave a Mortgage Coach commercial, and, I do believe that if you're paying for Mortgage Coach, whether you're paying me or not, you're either paying one loan a month because you're losing one loan a month, or you're paying me, $120. Or if you work for a company that is a Mortgage Coach client, you're paying less. But the value and hopefully my legacy at Mortgage Coach will be, we changed how people get into debt in America. Stop buying interest rates and monthly payments. Start making strategic financial planning decisions where, okay, I'm going to get into debt. How do I get out of debt? How do I save money? So if you're on this call and you're listening to it, we want you to be a change agent. We want you to stop being a fee worksheet loan officer, rate, payment, cash to close. Start being a mortgage coach that's having a strategic conversation. We want you to win by noon. If you do not get your prospecting in before noon, because you're salespeople, if that's the core to what you do, if you don't do a TCA by noon, you're not winning by noon. So those are my closing thoughts. Todd, well, Brian, you're still on video. You got one more thought to give?
No, dude, I'm just listening. You guys are good. Last thing on Rate Shopper, somebody says, what's your rate? I say, I'd be happy to put together a few proposals for you. Assuming the terms are competitive, what are 2 or 3 things that are equally as important to you when selecting a mortgage advisor to get you to the finish line?
Boom.
Boom.
I love that.
Yeah,
I
we
love
just,
that.
we
You know,
just
Dave, I
keep-
heard that
we
we have a
could
new
go all
word for
day.
we have a
Mic
new word
drop.
for the community. You said you don't want to be a fee work shit advisor. I don't know if you meant to say that or not, but that's what I heard. I've never heard a fee work shit before, but I think that's probably going to become a new term we use often in this community. And you just nailed it, right? We call them taking action notes. And in the end, you've invested time, you know, you've invested 3.5 hours plus to be here to learn, whether you did it in one foul swoop here live with us, or whether you watch this on video. The bottom line is that you invested the time. Now it's time to take action. And on behalf of myself and my team at Win by Noon, Dave and the whole team over at Mortgage Coach, all of our speakers, we are just super grateful that you joined us today. Dave, I'll let you put the final bow.
Yeah, well, the questions keep coming in. So, put those in the Mortgage Coach Facebook group. If you still don't know where to get notes, Todd's giving them and we're getting it. But remember, guys, we want to make this valuable to you. So in our Facebook group, you can either make a post or you can ask a question in comments. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, you can just go play back. I think we've answered every question a couple times. So guys, this is a wrap. We hope we see you at the Modern Mortgage Summit. So we gave you a link on how to sign up for that. And have a good one, everybody. Appreciate you.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for being here.